at 6:53, huh? And
43.
live.
I see
from
47.
Hubbardston. Hey, look at your watch. 6:50. I'm looking at that. Live from Hubbardston, we're in session 8/9/17. Thank you, all you folks out there in TV land, for joining us for another wonderful session of whatever it may turn out to be. So,
So you're revising it as we speak, or as we sit here? Good,
Why waste time?
yeah.
we're gonna
Oh, is that where we are?
continue with this deliberation on the permit to remove gravel. As I mentioned, I did receive from Attorney Michael Wiggins, representing the DJ Palm Nominee Trust, a consent to continue to September 1st, 2017. And it says, please further be advised, my clients will not consent to any further continuance of the deadline. And we will reserve all rights in the event that the decision is not issued by that date. So we need to thank everybody out there, especially the Marinellis and the DJ Palm Nominee Trust team, for giving us this extension. Takes a little pressure off, and we can sally forth. Alrighty. What I'd like to do first is have Tom go over his discussion of the Aquifer Protection Favorability Bylaw, which he has done extensive research on and has some information for us so that we can.
I'd like to
consider
ask
that.
our television sponsor if the noise from the machine is interfering with our microphones. And if it is, we could just push it off to that little table.
Oh,
Is that okay? So, sometimes I get home and I turn these things on to relive them. And you can't hear anything.
all right.
I
So
think
what do we do? Testing, 1, 2, 3? Everybody?
Well, I was hoping she was listening to us.
Yeah, we'll have to just check with her.
I think, Bill, if we could move over a bit, because we have to open up these drawers.
Hi.
No, don't move them.
Can you
Can
hear?
you hear me?
Perfectly, yeah.
All right, so
And
there's
that
no,
machine isn't interfering with the mics on the table?
No, it's fine.
Okay, great. Thanks for coming out.
Sorry.
No, no problem. Don't be sorry. Thank you.
I think the easiest way to do this is to do the plans, just slide it over a bit. You don't need a whole lot of space. You need some space.
so Tom has a theory that the Aquifer Favorability Bylaw is applicable to this situation. And we need to make that determination.
Well, first off, I went to got all the drawings. Have you looked at these CPs?
No,
You haven't looked at them?
not extensively.
Yeah. So I went through these sepia drawings, okay, and most of these sepias, which are the overlays, which you've always referred to as the town maps, okay, these were all done by Bruce Stokes,
Say it.
Salick and Associates, all dated March, well, not all dated, they're all in 1987, and I believe these are the drawings that the applicant made reference to when they said this was in an aquifer area. Okay, but what, and we'll look at those in a minute, because it clearly delineates these areas in a high yield aquifer. Okay, and we can look at that in a minute. I think you would agree with that, Bill. But this map is what you guys are claiming is the official map. Well, you're not claiming it. It is in the
Yep,
It
it's
is
the
in the
IEP map.
IEP map.
Does it say map number 7 in the law?
No,
or
it
does
just
it just
says a
say
map.
IEP?
It says IEP map dated 1988.
All right, so you're looking at map number 7. There might be
Right.
1 through 6 and 8 through 10.
And if we look at these, if we look at the map and the legend, it delineates drainage basin, sub-basin boundary, till stratified, potential medium high yield aquifer areas, unconsolidated deposits, till and rock in secondary aquifer areas, which is in white. Okay, so what's a secondary aquifer area? You wouldn't know. But that area lines up almost perfectly with, according to the map in 1987, with the high yield aquifer areas. So this secondary area, it's just a lousy map, is in white. And these areas in white here line up with the high yield areas on the high yield map from 1987. You see that? See the white in the aquifer areas, and that lines up.
Oh, yeah, Bill's looking at something. What are you looking at there?
The bylaw, the zoning bylaw.
Okay, so this map, I don't know, this looks like the original one.
No, that's a Mylar I made.
You made that, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where's the original?
It's a paper copy.
That's this bigger.
No, it's not that big one
That's
there.
not that one.
That map there is, this map here is the,
Right there, isn't it?
no, this is a map of 19.
That's a USGS looking thing.
Well, we'll look at this once we have it out.
Well, remember we had a roll of maps?
Yeah,
The original is in that roll.
oh, okay. Well,
And
that's,
that roll isn't here?
It's in planning office, I assume. I took a paper copy back with me,
no one seems to know where it is.
and
But
then I
any-
reproduced
hey,
that
this
on.
map is a 1977.
This is the master. There's one that says master on it in the office. Is that this one?
The white one that's right there?
Yeah.
No, that's a copy I made years ago for you guys.
From the master.
Yeah.
Joyce doesn't have anything but that roll in the file,
Hmm.
in the safe.
Well, I saw one marked
Well,
master. just
that's
the other
because
day.
I think Vince took that and brought it to Joyce and said, we gotta have this because people need to refer to it,
Mm.
because it's in the bylaw.
Mhm.
That's my recollection.
Okay, well, wait a minute. This map here is 1977, made by Montezut Regional Planning, and it shows the same area. This is a kind of a big map, which isn't.
But it's got the town boundaries on
It's
it,
got the town boundaries, Phillips.
down here.
Oh,
This
got it.
is the north corner of Hubbardston.
Right. And it shows the entire gravel pit area here that we're talking about is a high, it's an aquifer. It doesn't say high yield, it says as an aquifer. And if you look, like this is the aquifer area here, and this is the aquifer area here. And if you look at the white sections on this map, it lines up pretty much, see, it lines up with these here, and it lines up with the other areas that are marked as. So this is 1977, which is only really information that's,
What was the source of this one? I thought this was Massachusetts.
natural resource.
Oh, Wachusett Regional Planning Commission.
Montezut Regional Planning. This map is financed by a grant from the Environmental Protection Agency. Okay, so this is just a frame of reference, this map. So then you go to this map here, the aquifer, which is the high yield aquifer map. Okay, which again shows the high yield and low yield areas on this map. And these areas pretty much mirror a lot of the areas that are on that map. And then if you look at,
What's the date of that one, Tom? That's like an
87, February
87.
27th, 87. So then you go to the overlays here, which on all these, which one do you use this with the overlay? They must have a master one here
I
somewhere.
think it's this one.
No, it's a different size.
It's a different company. These plastic things are all salad, aren't they?
Yep. So anyways,
That's sepia.
this is a sepia, right?
They're all the brown is all
Yeah.
sepia on my Mylar sepia.
Environmentally sensitive areas in Hubbardston.
This one is a Mylar of that one. That one is the same map.
Oh, okay.
This one here. Yeah, this Mylar is equal to that paper. It has things like H6, L9, H9, M6, H6, and I believe that's high, medium, and low yield. And I think it says it somewhere in here.
So basically, what I found by going through these overlays was that the area that we're talking about is intended to be a high yield aquifer. And
Well, it's
I
not
think
intended to be, it's designated.
it is
that.
designated that way. And I think it's actually designated that way on this map here as well. But that being said, if the applicant or any applicant came into the town and asked for about this aquifer favorability area, Joyce would have given them all these CPs. That's where the applicant must have got the information from. They must have come in and got these
But
CPs.
you said Joyce didn't have these.
Well, they might have, 2012 they might have.
She hasn't had aquifer favorability information until Vince got it to her.
Well, he got
Well,
it from
doesn't-
somewhere. I mean,
No,
these
he-
are the same
no.
maps I think that are on GPS too, GIS.
Oh,
Right.
they're the derivation of it, yeah.
Before we digress to where they got what, let's Tom
finish.
finish here.
Right there, yeah.
Information.
What's that one? That's interesting.
This one,
Existing land use.
existing
He was
land.
using the 1987 map.
Yes, I agree with you.
So
And the
we can use that
1987
map
map
there
is
as just an
reclassified.
overlay.
What's that one's title down the
Yeah,
bottom
I
there?
don't have the original. Is that the same size, this one?
No,
But you can open it. Nope.
Nope.
no, that one is that blue marked one down there.
Just gotta orient it. There's your orient.
Yeah, but it's
Well,
a
it's
different size,
different scale.
different size, yeah. But anyway, you can orientate this one.
That's a different scale too, I believe.
Lines up perfect.
Hmm. Yeah, there's the little the state forest thing, right at the corner.
Right. And these things are all in the high yield aquifer areas, which matches up,
Secondaries.
well, no, these are in high yields right here. But it matches up with this white area here, because it says secondary, oh, secondary, I'm sorry, yeah.
How you doing?
Hi, Bob.
Hi. Is the Conservation Commission meeting tonight?
I think it's
If
in the
they
other
are,
building.
yeah, if
Which
they
is
are,
the
they're in the
If
library.
they're there.
Okay.
That little room in the back on the left.
Was it down in the library?
Yep.
Lowest level.
Basement.
So, and then if you look at the medium yield areas that are marked on this thing here, they are the hashed areas on this map. So I think this map is in fact correct. It's not the best map in the world. But there's enough evidence to say that this area is in high aquifer area.
It is.
And the zoning says in high aquifer areas,
Right.
no, that earth removal is not allowed.
No. The zoning says those areas shown as potential medium high yield aquifer area on a map entitled Aquifer Areas prepared by IEP Inc. dated 1988, which is hereby made part of these zoning bylaws and shall be on file with the town clerk. And the reason that I'm being so insistent on this is we all know that the speed limit was developed by a series of studies, but the speed limit is as published in the Code of Regulations.
Right.
Your map is that map, and it says potential medium high yield aquifer area, which is that map by IEP dated 1988 with the diagonal stripe. And I don't disagree with you.
I know
That's
you don't.
not right.
Right.
But the regulation,
All right, we hear you.
I understand what you're saying, Bill.
zoning describes it as this, and that's it. It's not subject to,
But zoning
Well-
also says, Bill, zoning also says that in the applicant shall submit information, what is it?
What are you referring to here?
General bylaw 19, section 4, no earth removal operations shall be permitted adjacent to any sensitive area or unless mitigation measures are implemented.
Yep.
So this is obviously in a
Sensitive area.
sensitive area.
Right.
Okay, although the proposed area not indicate the Hubbardston overlay map potential medium or high yield aquifer prepared by IEP, the area has been determined by the applicant as a high yield aquifer. So we actually can deny this based on his designation of this as a high yield aquifer.
Yes, under the general bylaws, but you can't use, in my opinion, you can't use zoning.
Right.
And then there's another conundrum that I have with the zoning in general. So
What's
there are
that?
two
The general zoning or the zoning zoning? The zoning bylaw?
zoning bylaws. Zoning bylaw, as is typical of most zoning bylaws, says that if a use is not listed, it's not allowed. That's the catch-all that almost every zoning bylaw does, because you can't list every use. You can't.
But I know, Bill, but it also says in the general bylaw 19 that zoning is, earth removal operation is allowed in the town. It contradicts that,
In section 19?
section 19. Of the earth removal the general bylaw, not the zoning bylaw.
Right, right.
And
No,
state
no,
law,
so-
and state
but-
law allows that
But my
to
point
happen.
is this. Zoning says earth removal is not an allowed use. And even if that were to come into play, you're not ruling under zoning, you're ruling under the general bylaw.
Right.
And it's permitted under the general bylaw, it's not permitted by zoning at all. So regardless of whether zoning says it's not allowed in one section or another, you're doing it under the general.
Right.
But by permitted, do you mean guaranteed by right, like farmland?
No.
Allowed,
Permit.
period.
By permit.
Allowed uses. So there,
Everyone done with these?
there's a
Sorry.
use that's allowed by right. There are uses that are allowed by special permit. And then any other use that's not listed, you have to go to the zoning board of appeals potentially to get a variance. They're not supposed to grant the use variance. You're supposed to go to town meeting and change zoning. So gravel removal is not, under the zoning bylaws, use regulation, Article 4, use is permitted by right, use is permitted by special permit, prohibited uses. It's none of those, it's not listed, other than grandfathering. So, if I wanted to do a pit in town and we didn't have a general bylaw allowing a pit, the building inspector couldn't grant a permit, nobody could grant a permit, because it's not allowed. And you're granting a permit under the general bylaws, zoning
Well,
has
we can
nothing
also
to do
deny
with
a
it.
permit under the general bylaw.
Oh, yeah,
I believe
yeah.
it says.
And I absolutely agree with you, it's a sensitive area, it is a recharge, I mean, it's a mapped aquifer, and you can take all that into consideration in your deliberations under the bylaws, but I strongly recommend that you do not call that
Into-
map into question or into play.
Right.
And don't bring zoning into it, except that my business partner and I had a conversation, because she's extremely experienced on your side of the table, in a very big and busy town of Chelmsford, where she was on the planning board for 22 years. And she recommends that you've already made a finding that it is not a grandfathered use, just.
In
but-
general, yeah.
Right. She recommends that we state that no evidence was provided, no evidentiary material was provided, no certificates or affidavits were provided to substantiate any grandfather.
I actually have a whole thing written on that, about all the details. I mean, there's a
Yeah, but-
litany of,
That's, let him finish
Yeah.
her thought first.
That was
Is that
it.
the end, that was it?
Yeah, we should incorporate that as a specific finding.
Her referring to his partner, not him.
Yeah, right.
see, if we use the zoning bylaw as one mechanism to deny it for that reason. And they appealed just that one thing. You could put it there denying it under that zoning bylaw as well as the general bylaw. Okay, and if you appeal that to a court, okay, the court would look at that map, and it's unclear, but it would also look at the other maps. You have to determine, it's the intent of the bylaw, it's not I understand what you're saying, Bill, it's only that map, okay? But if it's clear through 3 or 4 different versions that that map is incorrect, then the purpose of the zoning bylaw would be more important, okay? And you have to ask an attorney that, but I mean,
I'm gonna defer that one.
well, I know, it's a legal question, but the issue is, if the map is wrong, maybe those maps someone when they wrote that bylaw just put the wrong map in there, which I'm sure is actually what happened. I suppose we could go back and look at
I
the town
honestly
meeting.
think that they got the crosshatch wrong.
I think they made a mistake.
I agree.
So you can't deny,
But
you can't make decisions based on a wrong map because it's wrong, and you know it's wrong, and they admit that that's wrong. So I believe that you can deny under the zoning, okay, and that it would hold up in court, because all the evidence indicates that that isn't an aquifer area, high yield aquifer. Everyone agrees that it's in an aquifer area. The map could be wrong. Mistakes do happen. But I will check the.
why do we wanna hang our hats on a map that is
In question.
in question when we can use Meridian Associates map where it says the subject property is depicted as residential agriculture. The subject property is also located within the aquifer favorability zone defined by overlay plan titled Aquifer Information Overlay Blue Salt. So he uses the plastic overlay map, which shows it to be high yield, I believe.
As you're probably not surprised, I have an answer for that.
Well, no, I'm not surprised at all, but let me get my thought out. If we rely on his own work, isn't that stronger than relying on some, a question? And I say relying on, I don't know that if that's really the right word.
And the reason why I feel so strongly about this is it needs to be established that that area up there is a high yield aquifer area. Not just for this project, for all future projects and all future gravel pit operations. We can put this issue to bed about the aquifer in this particular situation, and I think it's extremely important, you know, that we protect this. This aquifer is probably one of Hubbardston's most important resources for people's water supply. It really, really is extremely important. It's highly permeable area. It's a large area, okay? The aquifer protection bylaw really does regulate industries that can go in there, and there's a reason for that. There's not a reason for it. It's a very, very important reason. And I think it's important that and again, we would have to talk to the town attorney about this, but I think it's important to make a determination on this, not only under the general bylaw, but also in the zoning.
But is
Okay.
that determination beyond the scope of the application that we're deliberating?
If that application was put in, and say that map showed it as a high aquifer, all we would have done is saved everyone a lot of time and money, because it would definitely not be allowed. Okay,
Well-
and quite honestly, the applicant's engineer missed it, because if he had read the aquifer bylaw, he would have known that that was in a high yield aquifer,
Well-
because he said it was in a high yield aquifer.
Yeah, he didn't miss it, he declared it.
He declared it, but if he had known that was in the zoning bylaws, he would have actually told the people there they couldn't do it because it's not allowed. And if he went into that office and got those maps, here are the aquifer maps. The 1987 maps, which he used, are the maps that he would have looked at.
That's what he refers.
And he
February
refers to
27,
them.
1987.
It's like, what I'm saying, Bill, is everyone agrees in the same room that that's a major high yield aquifer. Just because the map is off doesn't mean it's not. And doesn't stop the town from enforcing the purpose of the aquifer recharge area. The aquifer recharge area.
Don't you agree with that, Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, all Bill's pointing out is that we shouldn't have to step over the line into zoning. That's what Bill's, I think,
Yes.
I'm not putting words in your mouth, but
No.
that's what I
No,
think I'm hearing.
I hear that, but I think it's too important not to do. I think it's a very important zoning issue that should be addressed.
It is, however, okay,
What do you,
in the general bylaw,
you're in 19?
yep, confirm with the sensitive areas
Mhm.
as well.
I agree.
And that does not let's see what it says. I wanna make sure I'm saying the right thing.
No, you're right, that's in the right place, I actually wrote that down here. No earth removal operations shall be permitted adjacent to any sensitive receptor or
Doesn't say
area
that.
unless mitigation measures can be
Right, that's
implemented.
what I was looking for.
Here it is, here. Sensitive areas designated as watershed protection.
But Tom's statement is what I was looking for,
Right.
because it can be allowed if there's mitigation.
Can you mitigate working in a gravel pit
No,
Is
in an
that-
aquifer.
and an aquifer?
That's a good question.
Yeah, don't spill anything.
Excuse me?
Don't spill anything.
Well, no, the earth removal operations wasn't put in there because they were gonna spill anything, because it would be affecting the aquifer somehow. Why was that put in there?
But your earth removal operation also requires an offset to groundwater for the same reason, to protect the groundwater, which is the aquifer.
And this is
4
why I
feet?
don't wanna use it there. That's why I want it in the zoning. There's ways around it.
The 4 feet thing is the offset?
Yeah.
So if you spill a gallon of gasoline, it's not gonna run down 4 feet?
No, actually, if you make the offset to groundwater less than 4 feet, you can't put a septic system in there.
Right, I understand that, that's Title V.
That's
But-
Title V.
But what is the mitigation for spillage?
Capture. It's the only thing you can do. And if it gets in the groundwater, it floats along the top of the groundwater. As they can explain over at Devon's, where they have PCBs and all sorts of wonderful things from their old airfield. They used to clean the parachutes with a tetrahydrochloride something.
Trichloroethylene probably.
Yeah. And it floats along the surface of the groundwater until it reaches surface water, and then it gets diluted.
Volatilized.
Right.
Well, that's my shtick.
Well, what you have done is produced the document that he refers to.
Right.
And it shows it as I think it shows it as a H6 or something, which I think is a high yield.
Right. One of the
Aquifer
maps
zone.
actually says high yield on it.
Yeah.
So,
We're agreeing with him. We're agreeing with the applicant.
right. I think it can be denied under the zoning as well as under this area. That's what I think. And if we meet with the town attorney, right, then,
Yeah, is he coming in tomorrow?
Well, I called him a couple times, and when he called me back, I missed him. So I have to reach him tomorrow. I doubt he's coming in tomorrow. But I'll call him tomorrow, hopefully catch up with him.
Before we go home tonight, we ought to lay out everybody's schedule so we don't get caught up in people taking vacations and whatnot. You know, the extension is interesting, but most extensions result in work filling the available time. rather than causing an expedited situation.
I'm sorry it takes so long to find the one sentence I wanna look for, but
What are you looking for?
that,
Sensitive areas? It was in there.
no. We talked about that the other day, Bill. I just can't find it. there is a section that allows waivers,
But not to a large.
but not to a large.
Yeah, a large earth removal
Large scale.
operation.
There's no
Yeah.
waivers allowed, no.
I remember that.
It's under there, isn't it?
No, I thought it was too, but it
I
isn't.
didn't bring my.
There's a section, you're in definitions, there's a section on waivers. Keep going. Keep going, general provisions.
Keeps going. As-
Next one, waivers.
Alright, it's, page 32. Planning board may waive strict compliance with requirements under section 7 rules and regulations except for large scale earth removal applications.
Where are you? A, F, G, what, top, bottom?
Number 5.
Not 5.
Yeah, I knew that.
He was looking for it.
It's not mine. Mine doesn't have 5.
This does.
Right there.
Oh, that 5.
Yeah, I put
was
my
looking-
finger on it.
Sorry, 2 5s in a row.
The
I was
other
looking
5.
at the second one.
Oh, that is confusing, yeah.
All right, that's what I was looking at. May waive strict compliance with requirements under section 7 rules and regulations, except for large-scale earth removal applications. A pre-submission review with the board is recommended for all earth removal operations. All right, so.
And this is indeed large, it's more than 1,000
Oh,
cubic.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what their application's for. Anything else on aquifers? Or we, go back to what we were gonna do again? Anybody else have any?
One more. I'd like to say again, it's compatible with the intent of the aquifer favorability area. And I think it should be prohibited because if it's a high yield area under zoning.
What-
And if say this was just, say we approve this with conditions and one of the town resident, one of the people want to
Appeal?
appeal it. That would be a reason for appeal, and I think they would probably win, because it's.
You
that-
mean the zoning?
The zoning. Map is a map, to base something specifically just on one map. I hear you, what you're saying, Bill, okay, and I understand what you're saying, but they said it's in a high yield area. All the maps that we have say that. All the state information say that. We all agree that it's in there. I think that under zoning, it should be denied specifically for that reason. I think it should be denied for that reason and also under the general bylaw.
Well, I think what we have to do is discriminate, because if in fact we vote to deny, I think we can reference the zoning bylaw, but I would not use that as our primary source.
Yeah.
I would say that that would be a secondary source of reasoning, if you will. But I think it's pretty clear in chapter 19 that we have a credible reason for exactly what you're saying,
Mhm.
and then perhaps support it with a zoning rule, something like that.
Right.
I think the zoning shows the intent of the citizenry, because they voted for zoning. But 19 has to stand on its own 2 feet.
I think it does.
Or our decision has to stand on
19.
19,
Okay.
which stands on its own 2 feet. And then anything else we want to throw in the pot, we can, but it's something that's supportive but not primary, or whatever the right word is.
Well, I guess we will have to agree to disagree, and,
Well, I don't think we're disagreeing at all.
no,
think we're
I
just
understand,
putting
it's not a
things in perspective.
disagreement,
That's-
there's nothing
yeah,
wrong,
right.
just a perspective. But I would like to ask the town attorney, when we do meet with him about this,
Um,
if that is not to be done or whatever, just ask the question.
There's another
that okay?
way of looking at this.
I'm trying to think of long-term for lots of other issues.
Well, long-term, we should look at the aquifer protection and update it. is
So we
what
should update
do.
those maps, yeah,
And
definitely.
some of the language.
Can we just study the sensitive areas part of 19 again? Particularly 3 areas designated as watershed protection. 3A says, Department of Environmental Protection estimated or defined zones 1 and 2 to public water supply sources. I believe one of those maps you were overturning referenced the DEP.
There is a zone 2, DEP zone 2 to the Gardner well.
Pardon me?
They're in a, they're in a DEP certified zone 2 to the Gardner wells.
Okay, good, but one of those overlay maps said, you know, Salick says where he got his information, and one of them says, I got it from the DEP. And I'll have to look through them again to see it, but that's what I recall. And Bill, you're confirming that it's in a zone 1 or zone 2?
2.
And what do people do in zone 2?
A zone, so the way I describe it is, in a zone 1, if you spill a gallon of gas, it's gonna go into the well.
That is the circle around the well
That
that's
is
so
the
many feet?
immediate protective radius where nothing is allowed.
What is it, 100 feet from the well, or?
It depends on the yield of the well. It could be 1,100 feet if it's a municipal water
Oh.
supply.
Okay.
So for a house, it's 100 feet. Like Stacy's Pizza has 400-foot radius.
Gardner well probably has
The
200
Gardner?
feet or something?
Yeah, it's probably pretty big.
All
A
right.
zone 2 is where if you spill a gallon of gas, it may make it to the well. A zone 3 is you spill a gallon of gas, it's not likely going to make it to the well. A zone 2 is it'll eventually make it to the well, but might be dilute enough that it's never going to be an issue.
Is earth
All right.
removal
Then-
allowed in the zone 2?
Under what regulation?
DEP regulation.
What was the question, Tom?
Is earth removal operations allowed in a zone 2 area? I assumed it was, I never checked.
It's not totally, well, you are required under state law to own or control your zone 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then the zone 2 is a mapped area of protection tributary to the well, but it doesn't have to be owned, and I do not believe there's a regulation against it. Although I am surprised that the city of Gardner didn't come in.
Well, there is regulations what can go in there. I've seen the regulations. I've just never seen. It was when we were talking about the dirty dirt coming in.
Mhm.
That was definitely not allowed
It was
in there.
also-
Yeah, they can't put a new dump. You can't put a new
Landfill.
landfill. There's lots of things you
Yeah, you
can't.
can't do a wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah, there's lots of things you
Right.
can't do.
You can't bring in RMI's material of a certain category.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And all of those things, but I don't know why there would be a prohibition against earth removal per se.
I don't know. I don't think there. It mustn't be. I don't know. I've just never checked.
Part B says, areas delineated in the town of Hubbardston's Aquifer Protection Favorability Overlay District. Now, are we saying that that is what's the name of that company, IEP map?
That's it, yep.
Does it say it in this law? Does
In
it
here?
say
No.
in 19 that map governs?
No, it does not. It says that.
Yeah,
What's it say?
it says Aquifer Protection Favorability Overlay District. But it doesn't define it as the map like the zoning bylaws did.
It refers to that map. It's the same map.
Well, the words don't, but you might think it does. In other words, in 19, 3B, what is the map for that one?
Go to the town of Hubbardston Aquifer Protection Favorability.
Well, so you
Under
can't go
definition.
back and forth between the two. You just said that. You can't go. You got to make a decision based on the general bylaw.
It's referring to that IEP map.
That is, but that's not.
The town of Hubbardston Aquifer Protection Favorability Overlay is the zoning district. That was
You
the
see that?
intent.
Yeah,
That
but
was the intent
the
of that.
overlay has several categories of aquifer.
Mm,
The zoning bylaw picks one of those categories.
right.
Medium to high,
Yield.
something. But the map itself shows multiple categories of aquifer.
Mm-hmm.
This refers to the overlay. It doesn't refer to the overlay specific, type of aquifer, like the zoning does.
Well, but the overlay.
And wait a minute, I wanna hear whether that's accurate or not.
Yeah, but I think you're splitting hairs.
No, it's not,
Well-
it's not, no, neither one of you are wrong, because the Aquifer Protection Overlay District is the aquifer overlaid on that residential agricultural area of town. That the whole idea of the aquifer is the overlay. In other words, we don't have a zone called aquifer. We have an overlay, an aquifer overlay, which goes
Right.
over that zoning district. So that is not wrong, and neither was what Bill said. So it is an overlay, the whole map is the overlay.
Actually, the sepia maps are marked overlay maps, aquifer overlay map. That's what they're,
Right,
Yeah.
but so is the master plan. The master plan is the overlay district. Much like we have the overlay districts for the cell tower, we have overlay districts for, what else? One or two other things.
Yeah.
And they wanted to do an overlay district when they wanted to rezone this for the asphalt plant. So, you know, they'll have a basic zoning district, agricultural, residential, commercial, town center, light, actually, we don't even have light industrial. And then whatever goes over that is the overlay district,
right.
which is that.
I think what Tom is getting at is if you're using that, you're saying to me that we can't use the zoning aquifer recharge area because the map is marked wrong or whatever.
No, we're ignoring that.
I know, but
Because
you're
we shouldn't
referring
step
to
over
it
the
here.
line into zoning.
But you're referring to it here again, so they could appeal this thing and use that line and say, well, that's not the correct map.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
But that wasn't what I was saying.
I know, that's
What I was saying was, now, under 19, the planning board gets to define what the Aquifer Protection Favorability Overlay District tells us.
No, according to what Bill was saying, and I would.
I know, not according to what Bill was saying, but I'm according to what these words say. This is a new bylaw that came in 2010. And somebody perhaps did not screen out all of the stuff about gravel from the zoning. But we're going to ignore zoning in a primary sense and read those words. So we put that map up on the table and we say, what's it tell us? It doesn't define high or low or medium or what kind of aquifer. It just says aquifer favorability.
But you've already found that they're working in a sensitive area.
I'm just going through the law.
I
Bear with me.
understand, but
Maybe I'm
wetlands
wasting
are
time.
sensitive areas, and
All right. Then areas subject to the Department of Conservation and Recreation per 310 CMR 11. Do we have a definition of that on the table?
that's DCR tributary waters, and they're not. They
That's
don't
watershed
flow.
Hubbardston
protection.
Brook?
They don't flow.
Goes to a different
nowhere.
watershed.
Yeah, they're not in the DCR overlay.
That's the Miller's River watershed.
Well, this watershed goes to the Chicopee watershed and the Miller's watershed.
Right, which is not the
But
watershed
it's
that's,
down
in the
wherever it
wet-
goes, it's downstream of the Ware River intake, which is one of the lowest. It's mapped. There's no question they're
All right,
not.
my
in it.
question was, is it on the table so that the board can see this?
It's
Because-
actually on the drawing.
It is?
Yeah, it
Well,
shows
there's a
the,
statement.
no, there's a line that shows the,
The locus.
yeah,
Aquifer favorability overlay line
there's one on the map that shows it near the,
of meridians?
it should be right there.
well, let's not go there because it's not applicable.
It's not.
I know, but our board ought to know that it's not applicable by looking at something.
It's on that overlay map that we just looked at. It's definitely not in the Ware
It's a totally
watershed.
different watershed.
I don't have wireless, or I could get it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, the watershed protection map is for the Ware River watershed in our area. Swift River, Ware, all the different brooks that flow south to the Ware. This is a An area that flows north primarily to Millers and then ends up in Chicopee.
I can pull those
So-
maps out again and show you. I know it's on those maps, because it was clearly defined.
Yeah, we'll do that later or something.
And they would have to get an opinion from DCR if it would even came close. They don't even have to get that.
They regulate the waters within 400 feet of, 200
Tributary.
400 feet
Is this
of
the
a
Cohen,
tributary.
the Cohen
The
bill?
Cohen bill, right.
Oh, that's the Cohen bill?
That's the
Yeah,
Cohen.
Watershed protection.
Okay, 350 CMR 11 is the Cohen bill?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't say AKA Cohen bill.
Okay, so, anything else we wanna do on this subject of aquifer before we move on to our findings section again? Gonna revise what we did last
We're
week?
gonna revise the findings to put some of this information in there.
Where we are. 6. The site is located in a sensitive area as defined in the regulations containing wetlands subject to the jurisdiction of State Wetlands Protection Act, areas subject to the jurisdiction of Massachusetts Department of Fisheries and Wildlife, areas as designated watershed protection by the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, and Hubbardston aquifer favorability as reported by the applicant using a map prepared in 1987. Zoning refers to a different map by IP dated 1988 depicting the Hubbardston favorability district.
I would like to add to that.
You're the board.
I would like to put
Give
in
me,
the,
just give me 1 second, please. Here it is. Wanna make sure I get my draft out.
4.1?
Had everything but 4.
Page 4.
Okay, the site is located in a sensitive area, that's where we are, right? Want me to shut that light off, can everybody see that, or I'll shut this other light off and make it even clearer?
Oh yeah, we'll turn the office lights on. I could see it fine.
There you go.
Yeah, that works.
Christine, you wanna come over here so you can see?
Did you get sworn in today?
Me?
Christie.
Oh, just give a little room.
It's okay.
All right,
That's not mine, that's yours.
That's mine.
so, number 6. Site is located in a sensitive area as defined in the regulations containing A, wetlands, subject to jurisdiction of the State Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Hubbardston Wetlands bylaws. B, areas subject to jurisdiction of Mass Department of Fisheries and Wildlife, Natural Heritage, and Endangered Species Program. C, areas as designated as watershed protection by Mass Department of Environmental Protection. Zone 2 to the City of Gardner Water. And we struck the Town of Hubbardston Aquifer Favorability Overlay District.
And then we added D.
We added D. Hubbardston Aquifer Favorability, yeah, we made it a separate item. Hubbardston Aquifer Favorability District as reported by the applicant using a map prepared in 1987. Zoning refers to a different map by IEP dated in 1988 depicting the Hubbardston Favorability District. And E, senior housing development in densely developed residential areas. We clear with all of that?
Yes, last time we talked, we were looking at the map and how far away Madison Green was, because you said it was a senior development.
Right.
And then we turned our guns over to the other development there at the other end of
Silverleaf Hollow?
Silverleaf, and somebody said, no, that's not applicable.
That's right.
Well, I don't think that's right, because it is indeed a densely developed residential area.
Okay,
And I
we can
think
call it
there's
that,
some-
we can't call it a senior housing home.
No, we can't call it senior.
Right, that's fine.
But
We didn't define which ones.
Okay,
We just said
Yeah.
that they exist.
Yeah.
All right, but I wanted to loop it in. It
We-
stays in under another,
Yeah,
Category.
densely
Non-senior
developed
category.
residential area.
Yeah, we
Okay.
didn't omit it, we just didn't say it was senior housing.
Okay, I'd like to change that D.
Which one?
D, the aquifer.
D is in dog, okay?
Yeah. The applicant has submitted information stating that the property is located within the aquifer favorability
Yeah, I
zone.
can't type that fast.
I'll give it to you after. I'll give it to you after. Okay, if we all decide to do it, okay, don't. Within the aquifer favorability zone as defined by overlay plan titled Aquifer Information Overlay prepared by Bruce, blah, blah.
Salick, yeah.
Salick and Associates, I have trouble with that. February 27th, 87. It also states the area is in a high yield aquifer. Although the proposal may not indicate the Hubbardston overlay map potential medium high yield aquifer area prepared by IEP dated Dutch and Dutch, the area has been determined by the applicant to be a high yield aquifer. Read the Hubbardston zoning bylaw, Article 15.6, prohibited uses. U, earth removal as a commercial operation. 15.1 findings and purpose says, the purpose of this article, in addition to the purpose of the purpose enumerated in Article 1 of the zoning bylaw, are to limit activities that may occur in the area which have a high degree of potential groundwater yield. And which purpose a threat opposes a threat to the quality and quantity of water that may be available in such area. The proposed use is not compatible. This is, you may not want, this is my editorial. The proposed use is not compatible with the intent of the aquifer favorability protection area.
I think we need to divide this document up into findings, which are as clear statements of fact and document to the, and reference to the document, which we did, you know, with a Salic map of such and such. But then there has to be another whole section where, in my opinion, you take the finding and you say, how does that finding relate to a law? And you moved into that, and I don't believe that aspect of your response belongs in the findings. It belongs in the next section, which is how do the findings relate to a law? For instance, if this thing was gonna make 200 dBs of noise, you know, we'd report in the finding, it makes 200 dBs of noise. And
Well, we did refer to.
somewhere else, we would say 200 dBs is too high for the law.
But this is referring to the law. This is the zoning
This
bylaw.
would be a condition of disapproval. So you'd make a finding, and then you'd make a condition of disapproval going
Based
on
on the
to say. It's
But
not
doesn't
a
it belong in another part of the document, or are we gonna weave these all together?
I think the first part of it is a statement of fact.
His first part,
Yes.
yes.
And then he goes on to say, and when
This
considered.
means something.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, well, that means part has to be somewhere else.
That has to be a condition of disapproval if that's what you choose to do.
Right, that's why I said, you guys, everything else prior to that, what I said is just plain old fact.
Right.
And I think should be in the finding, because that is the facts of the,
Yeah, and we gotta make it so specific that somebody can find the document we're talking about. We
Makes
can't
life-
just say the map.
so basically the first 2/3 of it. The purpose, the proposed use is not compatible with the intent of the aquifer, that's an opinion. That's why I prefaced it, everything else besides that was basically just citing the law, the zoning.
All right, so everybody in agreement that that could be a finding, or anybody have a disagreement with that?
I'm good with that.
I'm okay with the finding part.
Yeah.
We
That's
gotta
what that we're still-
editorialize on the.
We're still doing findings.
Right. I'll give you a
So
copy of that.
we're adding that, and you wanna substitute section D for yours?
So this, here is the,
Okay.
does anyone have a problem with that? Or-
Well, we'll take it and write it up and review it.
Yeah.
See how
Okay.
it fits in with other,
I'll just give you a copy of this.
Or you can email it to me.
Yeah, oh, you would rather an email? Yeah.
Either way.
I'd like to see it right now. I'd like to get that over with.
Okay.
I think that has to go up there, and then we'll know what we're dealing, because I wanna move on from these findings tonight, get this over with.
I agree.
Should F, I don't, I read all your versions, Bill, but where do we talk about the, what do we call it, rural street or rural road or scenic roads?
Scenic roads?
Yeah.
Um,
Do we report that as a finding?
Can we?
Yeah.
No.
Yes, we can.
Well, I was gonna put it in F on 6. It's a scenic road.
I don't think it falls under sensitive area.
but no, I think it falls under the improvements to,
Okay, it's sensitive
12.
area only as it relates to 19?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
you're
think
right.
it's 12, pursuant to a truck traffic. Maybe not.
I just didn't see us capturing it.
That's 11, printed check traffic assessment.
Oh, yeah, well, mine just renumbered.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you would do it as a new number,
I would put in a new number,
yeah, just
Because it's
above property values,
because it's a
right
whole
after
separate
traffic.
subject.
All right, Pitcherville Road's a scenic road.
I'm gonna make a copy of this.
Would the reader know what that means? Scenic road, as designated by town vote? It was a town meeting vote.
It was accepted as a scenic road by the town, but it's designated through a little state law. I think it stands on its own. Scenic road can be looked up. I don't think we have to
All
define
right.
it.
Do we want town meeting or not?
Hmm?
Is a scenic road?
Well, you can put as accepted by town meeting, sure.
I didn't want to confuse with some generic term.
We should know that we're reading
How about that?
I like the town, as accepted by the town meeting better. I don't think we need to elaborate on it. I think it's a fact, it's a scenic road, town meeting accepted it that, and then conditions and ways it's,
Yeah, what that
Regulated.
means comes up
yeah,
someplace else.
it can be regulated someplace else. I don't think
Okay.
we have to put all of that verbiage in.
Going back to 6C, no, 6B.
it. You wanna finish with this other one first?
Oh, I'm sorry, where are we?
6D.
All right. Rather than a map prepared in 1987, oh, that's okay.
I was gonna take it out what Tom put it.
Alright, I can find it.
SALUK. Used to be our town engineer, wasn't he?
Yep.
was 1970.
It's already in there?
No, these are my notes.
Got any gin in there?
No.
We're being recorded.
Is there any law about bringing alcohol to a
I'm
meeting?
sure there is.
Do
If there isn't, there
you
should
want
be.
me to say the Hubbardson zoning bylaw, Article 15.6 prohibited uses?
I'm a little confused with the way it's written up there right now, what? Insert.
I would get rid of the word which.
Oh, wait, what Bill is saying though, do you wanna put it the way Tom has written it? The applicant has submitted information stating that the property is located within the aquifer.
Yeah, he's declared it.
That's what I think that's what we're missing in that sentence.
Oh.
That may be what was holding me up.
The answer to your question, Bill, what your question was, should we put in the zoning bylaw, Article 15.6 prohibited uses? I think we should put that in there to indicate that's what the bylaw says, zoning bylaw says. It's clearly just delineating it, but I think it's a pretty applicable statement.
I don't think you wanna stir in the zoning bylaw into a finding. Let the finding be what the applicant said. Cause that's what I think findings are.
Yeah, I
Good
don't,
point.
I think,
That's a good point.
I think when it starts with although, or it should end at high yield aquifer, period. See what that is in the third sentence, I think?
I would agree, I would agree with that. The rest of it should be actually either whatever we wanna say about it.
We can use that later if you wanna rationalize something with it, but
Yeah,
I think the finding is just up to the
Yep,
high yield aquifer.
I would agree.
You reference his sheet 1.
I didn't say I was the best typist.
Next time, if there is one, I'll email this beforehand.
Okay.
I thought you were gonna say we get a new typist.
I thought he was gonna say that too.
No.
Next time we'll have somebody else in here.
No, Bill's right, it would have been easy just to cut and paste.
I would just change it a bit here. The applicant has submitted that the property is located in the aquifer favorability zone as defined by overlay plan titled Aquifer Information Overlay, in quotes, prepared by Bruce Salick and Associates, February 27, 1987, period. They also state the area is in a high yield aquifer. Go back to the applicant. Right. Period. Disregard everything else.
Where,
The
where
applicant.
does he say it's in a high yield?
Oh, it's right on that cover sheet there. High yield, low yield.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Not in the paragraph, but in the, on the map.
You want me to do that again, Billy? All right, so it's the applicant has submitted, the property is located, delete information stating the property. The applicant has submitted the property is located in the aquifer favorability zone as defined by the plan titled, quote, Aquifer Information Overlay, end quote, prepared by Bruce Salick and Associates, Inc., February 27, 1987. It also states the period. What else did I say?
You can put,
They stated the area is in a high yield aquifer, period.
you can put located within the high yield aquifer favorability zone, because it's not in any other zone.
But he stated, they stated the area is in a high yield aquifer. I think that was what their statement is.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's.
So I modified, they stated the area of the project is in a high yield aquifer to be a little more, the project.
Okay,
Mhm.
period.
Everything
Just
else can go.
Everything else delete.
Delete everything else? Don't mix and match it? No. Get rid of the old text too?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
Bill, the very first line on D,
Within.
yeah, within the aquifer.
okay.
Does that kill off the zones?
What do you mean, kill it off?
I mean, are we done with zones, these sensitive zones? Is there any other kind of
Sensitive
zone?
area?
You have sensitive areas and sensitive receptors.
And this is the areas. Sensitive area is, sensitive receptor.
Existing structures, uses that are not compatible with earth removal operations. These include schools, libraries, senior housing facilities, hospitals, densely developed residential areas. So I should really make E another number. It's not a sensitive area, it's a sensitive receptor.
Oh, you took 19 out of here.
Yeah, but I don't know what I do with it, I was just
It's
looking
here
at my-
somewhere.
I lose this all the time, this is crazy.
Is that on the handbook? Is that?
No, I took it out so I can read it, and now I don't know why. There it is.
Okay.
And that, isn't a wetland sensitive receptor?
No, it's a sensitive area.
Area, okay.
Yeah, this
A
is where
receptor
this is where I read
receives
it.
impacts, whereas an area is you're located within it.
Gotcha.
The
Okay,
silver
just-
leaf thing is multifamily or cluster development. Is that right?
Correct.
Yep.
Do we want to put in there that it also could affect the Gardner water?
That's number C above.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Zone 2 to the city of Gardner Water Supply. And I'll get that strike out about Hubbardston favorability out of there. The applicant has submitted plans indicating the property is located within. Plans and narrative.
Declaring.
Where are you?
He
Still
de-
on D, the applicant has
declares it.
submitted the property.
Is located.
Yes, he
within-
submitted is, yeah,
He submitted it.
oh,
true, but
He declared
I
it.
think it's kinda,
He wrote it
has
down.
submitted what to show that the property is in
Well,
within.
it's not submitting it, he submitted like an argument, he submitted it as a fact.
Has submitted plans and information.
Documentation.
He just submitted.
Okay,
I mean, I think that stands alone.
okay.
Author?
How could say that? I submitted that, the property is
submitted that. There
There
you
we go.
go.
Sign her up.
You gonna run for office?
Can you type better than I can?
Probably.
I'd be willing to bet on that.
Yeah, but then she couldn't do her job, so.
So can I, Bill.
Bill, I can't.
Well,
I
the
can't
best
spell
I'm
it.
gonna just turn this thing right around.
No problem. 55 words a minute. Used to be good. I don't-
Can we start at the beginning of the thing again? Is it-
Do we need to start at the beginning?
Well,
again?
there's a few, yeah, there's a few things. Not mine, it's just minor.
Okey-dokey. All right, so we're all done with that section 6. Let's go back for Tom's minor discussions.
You better keep that promise.
Well,
So where are you?
okay,
Page 3, 2, 1?
Three, page one. This has to do, it's just a clarification.
Okay,
The
go.
stormwater calculation summary of Medium Meridian Associates.
What number are you
page
talking?
2012, 7.
Okay, number
Okay, and
7.
then it goes to 17, the draft stormwater pollution. I haven't seen it. What's the, I know the difference between
Could
a
you
draft
scroll
and a
back
real
up? I wanna see what he said. Those calculations were submitted for the 2012.
They were.
When did that come? Did that just-
Now, is that
They
this?
got me rattled. Yes, and we said that the 2012 calculations were sufficient because nothing had substantially changed to modify the drainage calculation.
Well, we don't know that.
No, we
Because
do.
during 2012, 2013, and 2014, work was done there that hasn't been documented in the drawings.
But the ultimate point of collection and downstream impact hasn't changed.
You mean the settling pond and the,
Right, where, and it's sand and gravel, so really, in sand and gravel, runoff doesn't occur except in frozen ground conditions and torrential rains. And, so one of my PEs reviewed the drainage calculations and said, nothing's changed, nothing's different between
Alright.
now and then. Even if they remove gravel, it's still water flows downhill towards the settling pond and is captured, and there is no increase in runoff to the neighbors.
Did they get a SWPPP or whatever it's called permit in 2012?
I don't know that.
I went to the Fed EPA website
Mm.
and did a search, and I admit I'm not very good at these things, but I searched under Hubbardston Sand and Gravel, Hubbardston Sand LLC, JD Palm.
You can actually just search under Hubbard's.
Well, I did all those things, and I kept getting no data, which would imply, and I did it from 2008 to 2017, which would imply they didn't have a permit.
They didn't
Because
get a federal permit.
One didn't show up. However, it says if you have trouble searching, you're supposed to call the EPA, and I haven't done that, and I certainly had some trouble searching. So, I plan to do that, but what's the implication of having this document?
Is that the SWIP?
Yeah, that's the thing I got out of the box in the,
Sure.
what's it mean if they don't have one?
There are two responses, and I'll give you a by example. So Nexamp, it's the solar farm that's right next door to the
Yeah.
project, and they had a major blowout. Now, the SWIP, as it's called, is the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. It's enacted to make sure that you're taking reasonable measures to prevent stormwater impacts on the environment and everything else. So if you have an industrial use and you do things outside, you can't use solvents and machinery exposed to the rain without collecting it and treating it or doing whatever. And they had a blowout at Nexamp, and they had
What's a blowout mean?
they had frozen ground conditions, and they had a torrential spring rain, and it overwhelmed their drainage system, blew away the berm in the drainage basin, and they filled these wetlands to 1.5 feet with silt, including burying turtle breeding grounds and everything else. So we called the US EPA, and the US EPA said they have a SWIP number, we'll come and look. They have a SWIP, it's posted, and they filed a remediation action report, we're gonna do nothing. All it really is if you don't file a SWIP and something happens, then they can come down on you, and they will, like a ton of bricks. But if you have a SWIP and an accident happens and you follow the procedures, then they're simply gonna say thank you for doing your job.
So the procedures are pre-approved deal, and if
Yeah.
you follow them, you're
Right,
not
so
in trouble.
if you're doing a subdivision, by means of example, there's something called a construction general permit. And it's a book like that, and all the criteria is in the book. You just fill in the names and the places and the Indian tribe and everything else, and I'm not kidding, in the book, and that's your construction general permit. You send a form to them saying we filled all this out, it's available on site, and the information's available to the general public if they want to know.
The general permit's part of this book.
This is an industry specific project, so they're not subject to a general permit.
It says general permit.
Yeah, well, it's also a draft.
Well, it's
that's
also a
not-
draft, and it
That's not the
relates.
draft, that's the original one in 2012.
Yeah, this doesn't appear applicable to
It isn't
Palm.
anymore. They've changed the regulations, so that doesn't apply anymore.
But if they didn't, if they were part of the permit, they were supposed to get approval by them and submit it.
Actually, you just submit the form, and they give you the number.
Yeah, but if they didn't do that, that would be a violation of the earth removal permit, if we made that part of the permit.
It is part of your new permit, yeah. Your new permit says that you shall obtain all applicable permits, regulations, licenses, and et cetera, and a violation of those may be deemed considered a violation of this permit by the planning board. Now, I'm going to tell you that's probably way overreach, I'm quite sure, because it extends your jurisdiction to areas that you don't have, but we advise our clients to put them in.
And what if they didn't have a SWPPP?
It's a federal permit. It's not subject to regulation by you or the state.
But what if they were supposed to have one and didn't have one?
And they might have been in violation.
And you're saying the planning board shouldn't care too much about that?
I'm going to tell you that half the earth disturbing operations in the state don't have a SWIP.
I know, but that doesn't make it right.
No.
Well, that
And-
wasn't, my question actually wasn't that complicated, it was, when does the draft become the real one?
They have to submit it, I think it's 30 days prior to initiating the activity.
That was my question.
But he has a different
And you're saying the general permit's changed. This one says it's
They're not-
good after 2008.
They're not eligible for a general permit anymore.
What do you mean by that? Do you have to?
A general permit is, I have a book of boilerplate rules.
Yeah, here it
Follow,
is.
follow the rules, and your permit's valid. This is an industry-specific site. They don't qualify for the standard boilerplate. They have to come up with their own because it's industry-specific. This is a SIC code, Standard Industrial Code, that requires very specific criteria be met, and the boilerplate doesn't do it.
So if you go into the website, it says
Usually says,
how to write your permit,
right,
and it takes you through it
yes.
to some extent. I didn't go in
Right.
depth, but it takes you through how to write
A
your own
CGP.
non-standard permit.
No.
Not boilerplate permit.
It walks you through how to do a CGP, which is a construction general permit. An industry.
Yes, not the SWIP thing, but the general permit.
Right, general permit. This is not eligible for a general permit. This is
Oh,
a site specific.
not even a customized general permit.
No.
Okay, I'm hearing you now. I wasn't at first.
Yeah, I'm trying to describe, it's, the boilerplate does not work for this activity anymore.
Now, the question is, should a condition of our approval be that this permit exist?
You have it.
Because we don't
That's one of
have,
the general
this
conditions,
book,
isn't
I read this book and I say, this isn't applicable to this project.
Hmm.
It was bulk. It doesn't even have the owner's name right.
I think it's a condition down at the bottom. Here it is. Well, you have it. 18. This is a finding. The board finds that the property may be in violation of the U.S. EPA National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System regulations in its current state.
Yeah, that's the one, NPDES.
Yep.
All right.
And then, if I go down to 14, it's right there.
All right, these are conditions.
These are your special conditions, yeah.
Okay. Do we want to say something about the fact that they submitted this document and it's not applicable? Would that be a finding?
Well, they explained it in their cover letter, saying that it was, at the time that they submitted it, the feds were changing the system. So it isn't, they said that this is simply indicative of that which they will eventually generate.
Okay. So that gets them off the hook?
Well, I mean, they can't submit a
Outdated plan.
non-valid application to the feds.
All right.
Just
Then-
doesn't work. I thought
Same
this
question, different permit.
multi-sector general permit.
I'm happy with that. We're done. Up in 6, the National Heritage thing. Did we ever resolve whether we should have a permit in hand before we approve?
But we'll get there when we get there.
Okay, I'm jumping ahead, sorry.
I have to keep things in order.
That's fine.
I'm waiting.
Okay, next, Tom.
Next one, on August 1st, the board met to continue deliberation and voted to, on the page, vote to approve and permit, vote to approve with conditions, and vote to deny the permit for cause.
And we're going to erase the non-applicable ones.
I know, but we didn't vote to do, we didn't vote on August 1st. I
Do
don't think.
anything.
I was an optimist.
August NN.
I now have August 9th up there. I'm hoping tonight.
Okay. Okay, so it's not, we're not gonna vote all three of those, it's gonna vote.
Right.
So you can't vote to deny. You can overvote, you can vote not to approve.
Same thing. The effect is the same.
It isn't, if you vote to deny first, then it's a vote to approve. With a 2-2 tie.
Okay.
So the vote should be carried, taken, vote to approve the permit with no conditions, and a vote to approve the permit with conditions. If neither of those are affirmative, then it's denied.
But one of you can make a motion to any one of those. And skip the other two motions.
No, but we don't wanna vote to deny.
You're suggesting take it out?
Right, if you don't,
He doesn't want deny, not to approve.
I know it's splitting.
Dis-
Oh, wait, what am I missing?
If you wanna vote to approve it, okay, that's
Yeah.
one thing, and that's, if it gets voted down, say, then it's voted down. If you if you vote to approve with conditions, okay, and that's denied, then the whole permit is, you don't have to take another vote, because it is denied. In fact, it is denied, because you don't have it.
But you would be very foolish not to take that third vote.
If you take that third vote and it's a 2-2 tie,
It's
okay,
denied anyway.
no, it's, you didn't vote, your approval is based on the motion. The motion is the motion to deny. If you make the motion to deny and it's a 2-2 tie, the motion to deny does not carry.
I understand completely what you're saying, but the semantics boil down to the same thing. If the board can't reach a decision by a majority of eligible voters, then your action has the same effect as to deny. And therefore, if you don't impose conditions or reasons for denial, you've just you have to have
Oh, I agree.
reasons for not acting. So, call it what you want, it's okay by me, but if you split 2 to 2 and you guys are entrenched, then I'm hoping that someone comes over and says, fine, we'll deny it, because it's so much cleaner. Because if you are 2 to 2 entrenched and you can't get movement, then you're probably going to have trouble agreeing on conditions of non-approval, and it's going to get real messy real fast to the benefit of the applicant.
Let me understand this. If you make a motion, and the motion is
I
a
think
2-2.
you guys are going into this a little.
Yeah, let's not even worry about that
Yeah.
right
Okay,
now.
we'll
Well,
bring it down
because
later.
I don't
I mean-
understand it, but I'll
Well, that's
just.
fine, it was just.
Well,
that.
if you're not able to do a favorable action, the short story is the application cannot be approved.
Yeah, I agree with you with that. Okay, the next little thing, and it's not.
When's
big thing.
Bard coming?
I don't know.
You think he's going to be more clear than me? Okay.
And the next little thing is on the findings, the applicant submitted you have complete application, we wanna say is incomplete.
Should say an application.
In what manner is it incomplete?
Well, we struck the word complete, didn't we?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, it's just,
I read it wrong, okay.
an application was submitted, that's all we said. We didn't qualify it as,
Okay, that's what I was getting.
okay.
Yeah.
Just to be, if you open a public hearing and you don't state right off the bat that the application is incomplete, but you're still going to act on the hearing, you prejudiced yourself against you're not supposed to open a public hearing on a project without a complete application.
Right,
You're entitled to return an incomplete application. So when you open the public hearing and you don't immediately adjourn it or postpone it or whatever, it goes against you if you later say it's incomplete.
okay.
So we're not saying that, we just say they filed the application.
Right,
Okay.
I misread it, yeah.
All right, so, any other findings we wanna qualify
And I'm
before?
not an attorney.
No, I know, you keep saying that, no. But number
But
5.
neither are we, so,
Now, how do we resolve these votes on number 5, the waivers,
Well, they withdrew the waiver on the traffic,
right?
so you don't.
Should these just be taken out? These
no,
waivers?
we'll have to, it has to, this is coming in the findings section.
Mhm.
And we agreed on that last week, that they did file the waiver request, and that they did decide to withdraw that request into the study. That's basically what that says, right? We will eventually vote to accept the withdrawal of the waiver request, which is just, at this point, it's a moot point. Could have done that in the middle of the hearing, but we didn't, so we'll do it now if we wanna just tidy that up.
But that assumes that the truck traffic assessment is a traffic study. Is it? And I think I asked you this once and you said it wasn't.
No, this is in reference to the request for the waiver. That's what
I'm
we're-
on page 3,
Page 3,
5A.
5A, right? The vote is only on the waiver request. We're not qualifying whether or not that truck study or traffic study was a truck assessment or not. That's not what they're asking. We can't vote on that. We're voting on whether or not,
Well, they're saying they don't need a waiver because they gave us a study.
that's right.
It's a form of a traffic study.
Well, yeah, it's a form of one, but
Right.
is it one? I think you answered me once that it isn't.
It's not an all-inclusive traffic study.
But the purpose is to withdraw the request for the waiver. They submitted something and we accepted the truck traffic assessment. But this is in reference to the waiver request. Okay?
No, I'm good, I just didn't
Okay.
know how we were gonna handle it, I figured, you know.
No,
Wanna vote on it now, then we don't have to deal with it again?
No, not really. I wanna make
Okay.
sure we have everything tightened up,
Okay,
then we're gonna
good.
go back and, you know, these are 3 or 4 of these loose ends, we're just gonna,
Okay, we'll
do
deal
it
with this
so
stuff
that-
later.
so everything falls into place when if we take a vote on anything, we'll take it with 2 or 3, so that it's
Okay.
not fragmented in the minutes, and somebody reviewing those would have a problem.
Okay, sounds good.
Anything else anybody have?
On 6, we done with 6?
Well, do they want these other 2 waivers? B and C?
Yes, they want, then we have to vote on those later.
Okay, on number 10. A. It says appears that 90% of the gravel pit extraction operation is located within the habitat. The location of this information you have here must be accurately depicted.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying, wouldn't it be that it was not accurately depicted?
I'll tell you why, because I just learned this myself. The habitat maps were supposed to be finalized September 1st. They activated them August 1st. So when they submitted, they were accurate. When you looked at them, you looked at the new maps,
Okay.
because I
Mhm.
just got burnt on that.
And we're just doing the findings here, so this is.
So and there is no such thing as grandfathering for natural heritage. Even if you have an order of conditions, they can go backwards or they can go forwards in time and say, well, the new standards apply.
Okay.
I missed the point. Have the new maps come out?
They were officially issued August 1st, as noted on MassGIS. Prior to that, they were dated 2008. So August 1st, 2017 is the new issue date. They came out a whole month earlier than when they said they were going to.
Actually, the new map was on there, but they actually attributed it to the 2008.
Well, I went on the website and,
I know, but it's been
Got the
it's been
update.
changed since.
yeah, oh, yes, the title,
The
yeah,
title was changed
Yes.
after they put the map on.
right,
Did
exactly.
this region,
The whole state,
I know, did this corner of Hubbardston get changed
yeah,
to what they had proposed?
bigger. It goes all the way down to Norman Brown's pit now. Whereas,
They had, the comment period that ended June 30th had proposed removing this area as a designated niche shaft,
not
something or
what they
other.
did. I know, I'm working down in Dartmouth and we have a box turtle habitat and it disappeared.
Yeah, they proposed removing some 200,000 acres,
Yeah, they did too. They removed a lot.
but they didn't remove it from this area.
They made it bigger.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they found a turtle in Templeton, some 4 miles away.
Actually, it might have
and they
been in
included it.
relation to Fletcher's asking them to come down and check. Remember they were asked, they made applications and they came, careful what you ask for, yeah?
Well, they had a report, I think somebody ran over one of the turtles in Templeton, wasn't that what they did up there? And they said,
That's how they find a majority
Yeah.
of the endangered species
Oh,
roadkill.
great.
Seriously. Or they originally did. Yeah.
next?
So that's why they have to update their maps, and they're subject to it. That's why I won't let go of the NHESP stuff.
Okay,
I resolved it. No, you didn't.
number 12. Number 11 rather, C. No pedestrian study was conducted on Pitcherville Road.
Where were you, Tom?
C.
Page 5 of 17. 11C under the,
Okay.
Okay, I want to, I think that should be expanded a little bit.
The study was conducted to assess the impact on pedestrians.
Well-
Potential impact on pedestrians.
when the applicant was asked how they're gonna protect school children walking on the side of Pitcherville Road in the dark to meet the school bus, they had no answer except that children should walk on the verge of the road. That's what they said.
I hear what you're saying. So no pedestrian study or assessment of impacts was conducted on Pitcherville Road.
To protect school children walking up to the side of Pitcherville Road in the dark to meet the school bus.
Well, for that matter, there's no bicycles either.
I think you're editorializing when you put that in there. I think you need to make just a statement in the findings.
All they studied was trucks. They didn't study cars, bikes, or people.
Yeah, but we have it delineated. A, the truck study assessment addressed truck traffic on Pitcherville Road. No information regarding truck traffic routes or impacts on adjacent roads was provided. B, the board finds information regarding impacts on adjacent street being absent. And C, no pedestrian study was conducted on Pitcherville Road. I think that's just what happened. You know, that's the facts.
But the fact was the matter, they were asked a question about it, and they didn't, the way they answered it is, I think is very important. And the person who reading this finding will make a decision based on that finding. They basically, I asked that specific question. What about the kids walking to school in the dark with 50 or 30-ton trucks coming down on them in the dark? What would you do? And they said, nothing. They should walk on the verge of the road. I think that's very, very applicable to the finding. That is what they said, that is a fact.
I think people talked about snowbanks.
Well, we didn't talk about snowbanks, we only talked
didn't?
about walking up the road there.
Right.
I know what you're saying, I understand what you're saying, but I.
Well, let's rephrase it. If no pedestrian study was conducted on Pitcherville Road, applicant stated pedestrians should walk on edge of road. Something to that effect. That's what they said, right? Applicant stated,
Is that in fact exactly what they said?
Yep,
Okay.
that's what they said. I asked the
Well,
question.
we can expand
Well, I
on it
remember you
elsewhere.
asking the question, but I don't remember them.
Yeah, I couldn't believe he said that, but I mean, that's what he said.
But we can editorialize on the finding elsewhere. We can pick that finding out and say that what this means to the town is something.
I go along whatever you guys wanna do. That's
I
my-
got something up there.
My opinion.
All right, what do you say?
Nope, this is.
I have no problem with that kind of statement. I just don't think we wanna editorialize it in the findings.
Yeah, that's a finding. You're quoting the
Right.
applicant. That's
Okay.
fine.
I can go on. I'm
Okay.
not doing that well, but it's okay. I feel better.
But we can take these things up in another
You know
area
what?
of the document.
Yeah, I mean, we can make a determination, we can make an
You already have.
interpretation.
You have a special condition to say that they have to study the pedestrian impacts and they have to improve the road.
The town center committee did a study on the road, and they called it a total street or something. And they considered pedestrians, bicycles, cars, and trucks, and school buses.
Right. That's the
And
new
so
DOT
w-
standard.
Why don't we say pedestrians and bicycles?
Because that.
That's not what they said.
Oh, okay, because we're sticking to their quote.
And
Okay.
the study they did for the town center was, they had to say that because the grant is predicated on those
Mm-hmm.
conditions that they have to use. So that
It's called complete streets.
complete streets, correct.
All right. The other thing is, their traffic study uses a word, I can't remember the word, but it says, in large part, the trucks will be traveling east on Pitcherville Road. Which means,
Coming out of the pit,
yeah,
they have to
in,
go.
in small part, they can travel west.
Correct.
And I don't believe the study said anything about west.
Did not.
And basically, they might not like it, but they don't have any control over where the trucks come from or where they go after they leave their property.
What you do. Item B, by the way, up there.
It'll be up here.
The board finds that the information regarding impacts on adjacent streets
Streets.
being absent or not specifically addressed
Allows the board.
allows the board to limit potential impacts on non-studied streets and trucking routes based on its knowledge of such areas. I don't know what that means. You mean we could set a condition that say they can only travel east?
They didn't study it, they didn't present it, they
Alright.
didn't give you
I
information.
got that part.
Which means you can rely on your knowledge
Experience and
rather
judgment.
than professionally prepared information because it's absent.
Well, they did use a word, I forget what their traffic study said, but, you know, it. I got it right here.
I think the word undetermined or non-determined, or I think it's an ambiguous phrase or word.
It is. And I don't want them to be able to turn around and say, well, we did study it, we told you.
The only reference they made to going west was for local customers or local orders
I
that
don't
they have.
remember that during the discussion.
I don't remember that either.
You don't?
I do.
You don't?
During the
I-
discussion.
I thought that too. I didn't think they were gonna go left.
They said that if there was somebody that way, they would go that way, but otherwise they wouldn't. Or paraphrase. I don't know who in Templeton will walk gravel from Hubbardston, considering pits in Templeton exist.
Reference,
It
Price.
was the travel, which way they traveled.
which way they travel.
The only way they could go is up Ragged Hill Road.
Yeah, and that'd be a tough route,
Or
Well-
going down, what's that, Birches Road?
which would be worse.
You can go into Templeton.
Yeah, if they go down Birches Road out to New Templeton Road.
But why would you?
Well, if you were going west if you were going out to Greenfield somewhere, that would be, well, actually, it probably wouldn't be shorter, actually, it would be longer. Cause you just get on Route 16.
Well, let's move on. I can't produce what I'm trying to find.
I think it would.
Well, that would come up in a condition anyway.
So, if we pass such a condition, they would have to have a contract with their truckers that say they only turn left?
Yeah.
Mm.
And post a sign. You have the right to control number of trucks, the route that they take, anything to minimize or mitigate impacts. You have-
Noise, dust,
Right. You have the right to regulate it.
no jake brakes, everything's gotta be covered.
Jake
I
Briggs
passed
is
I passed a sign today that said no engine brakes.
It's in here.
It's apparently legal. It was a state sign.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's on the border between Lunenburg and
Number of
Um,
towns have that, Tom.
Lancaster.
Yep.
On Lancaster Road.
Oh yeah.
Right
yeah,
near
there.
all those pits.
Yeah, right. Powell's territory.
Yes, Powell, C.S. Powell, something like that.
Okay, number 17, I had benefits to the town. Now, this finding, I don't think they should put in there the benefit of the town, they're gonna pay the taxes or reclaim the pits, because they're required to do that anyway.
Well, that's what it says. These benefits are available to town by enforcement of the chief. No, that's not what we said. We said
Well-
these benefits come to the town whether this permit's approved or not.
I know, but paying the taxes isn't a benefit to the town, that's what they're required to do. I don't think that should be listed as a benefit.
But we asked them,
It's-
what are the benefits to the town?
It's what they stated.
Okay,
And
They
we're
said
finding what they
taxes and
stated.
reclamation.
okay.
And you're correct, you know, it's not a benefit to the town, well, it is a benefit to the town, because everyone pays their taxes, we can have a budget. But it has to be put in perspective in the sense that it's a mandatory situation. It's not necessarily a plus, it's just has to be done.
Do you want to say the applicant stated the benefits to the town are?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be.
That would work.
That would be.
And stop at taxes and reclamation. Well, I guess they did say undefined contribution roadway.
Yeah, they did say
And I don't believe the roadway contribution is governed by the 2012 permit.
No.
So I would say,
Drop that
I would
last
say
sentence.
Drop that- I
taxes,
have that
tax and
crossed out.
reclamation are required, by the 2012 permit. Other benefits are not defined. Something
Did you
like
get
that.
that?
Something like that.
I didn't get it.
All right, let's go.
Applicant stated the benefits to the town are, colon, taxes, semicolon, reclamation of the pit, colon, and undefined possible contribution to the roadway improvements.
Taxes and reclamation are required by the 2012 permit. Well, no,
I would-
taxes are required.
I would just get rid of that whole sentence. It's
Yeah, I just dropped that.
That whole sentence, these
These
benefits
benefits,
are
yeah.
available,
All right, yeah, that's the
Right.
finding.
yeah, that's, And then I'd like to add A, B, C, D, F, G.
Wait a second, just impacts on the town, I
On-
think, instead of to the town. But, under 21, when you
Possible contamination of aquifers, just add that as a possible impact of the town.
but I don't think we found that in the hearings.
Well, he's said it on his document.
What did you say?
Well, he's in a,
You're not giving me anything, are you?
Well, just, it's for your own benefit, it's for your own good. I just wanna be accurate to what they said, I don't remember them saying, I think this is, you know,
well, you're
again,
right, they didn't say it would contaminate the
so
actual.
what we're trying to do here is
Findings,
come up with
findings,
findings that, you know, are matter of fact during the hearings and the testimony.
No G?
Now, did you say that during the hearing?
No, not that I remember.
Okay, so that's, you know, that's the distinction, I think.
A is a rather all-encompassing statement. Do we need to say something about the town center? I remember talking about how the town center gets pretty congested.
I think you run a big risk when you start talking about,
Not a fine spot.
Specifics.
Yeah,
specifics,
Yeah.
especially with
belongs
commas.
somewhere else.
Because if you're gonna specify them, what about the trucks that are coming down Route 2 on their way to dump the refuse and route? Or the trucks that
Mhm.
are coming in
Mhm.
to bring sand and gravel to a construction site?
All right.
You know, I think we just leave it as a general situation
It's a double-edged sword.
there. Yeah.
Being specific gives you quite a bit of credibility, but it can be held against you for the same reason that Vince said. You cited it here, but you didn't cite it here, you didn't cite it here, you didn't cite it here, so you weren't consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Being vague, as we are citing Byron's, swings that way too.
And if a
But
truck
you
comes-
are consistent.
And if a truck comes down from New Hampshire, we're involving interstate commerce. You know, that's a big one. Interstate Commerce Act.
That's it for the, I'm
That's it.
done.
Thank God we have this on tape.
I'm good.
Anybody
I'm good
anybody
for a
else
long
have any
time.
other findings we wanna review and qualify?
Well, let's just go through them. 19, we're going down, we've only got a couple more to go.
Well, we've already, go ahead, we've
There are
already
multiple
done it.
historic violations of previously permitted gravel pits not complying with town requirements, including this property. We were talking about specifics. Do we wanna take the 2012 permit and identify what has not been complied with?
Well, 23 is the general of that. The next one down, my 23. The board finds the requirements of the 2012 gravel permit for the same property have not been met. And then we can go through which conditions have not been met. Or
What-
we can broad stroke it.
What does the phrase the permit travels with the land mean, or goes with the land?
You want that or you want me to take it?
It means they attach that permit, it's a legal document that stays with whomever owns the land. And if Bill buys the land from you, that document goes with the conveyance to him.
Okay,
The rights
So-
and the responsibilities.
so in 2012, the town gave him a permit, in 2014, that permit expired, and there's no record of them, no record of the owner of that permit coming in for renewal.
Correct.
So that permit really is expired, but if I understand it correctly, the conditions travel with the land. And so if someone comes along and buys that, as in this case happened, like a month later, someone bought this property back. And so they're presently holding the responsibility for the 2012 permit.
It's my reading of it.
Do we want to say that?
I think we do.
The current applicant is the property's owner, bound by the requirements of that permit, okay.
And as such, the
And-
property is in violation of that permit and the bylaw. If it stays with the property's in violation.
All right, then jumping down to the placeholder, and jumping down to the, whatever the next one was, do we want to delineate the kind of issues that are non-compliant? It's the same question, like, do we want it to be general or specific?
What do you wanna do?
Did we discuss those at the meeting? Did we ever discuss those?
We discussed the fact they were in non-compliance.
We never discussed individual.
I don't remember any.
You've certainly discussed the
Reclamation.
dumping of construction debris.
We have that in the next.
You certainly discussed the fact that they have never remediated. You discussed the fact that they haven't benched any of the excavations and
They
that
opened up more than 3 acres,
And
et
that
cetera,
one-
et cetera.
Haven't complied
one
with
excavation is
slopes.
closer. Right, exactly. You did discuss a very big majority of their non-compliance, but you did not, I don't think you went through
So
the
then let's
12
list
permit.
them. And at
But
the end
can-
of, as such,
Can
the.
I just back you up a little bit?
Go ahead.
What's the net effect? You're not in compliance with the permit as issued.
Only if we stated it and it's delineated in the hearings, if it's delineated here, then it just builds the case that, well, you didn't do any of it.
Yeah, again, I'm still in the shotgun mode.
Are you?
You're not in compliance.
Good point. I agree. Yep, we've stated it. Let's go on. Okay.
Why? Because specific non-compliances can get shut down and the general statement can't get shut down?
Well, they have to bring it up. They have to find out what they did or didn't do. We're saying they're not in compliance.
Well, if the other thing is if we
It's,
vote to not.
it's open for your interpretation and anybody else's interpretation. I think if you list the non-compliances, you close the door to interpretation, and this is the list. And when you
Ah.
present them with a list,
Then the list confines you.
yes. I'm absolutely in agreement with you, and again, it's
Well,
that.
no, we're not talking about disagreement. We're talking
Yeah.
about
No, but
what we write
it's,
down.
it's a philosophy, and it's that I can't tell you you're wrong because you're not by listing the specifics. I tend to aggregate towards, maybe Joel will say something quite the opposite because it makes his job that much easier if you have specifics, because he gets
The
to
lawyer,
check.
the lawyer always says, including but not limited to, and then they make a list.
Right. Because then it just, they comply or they don't, and then that makes his job that much easier as opposed to,
Because there's a fundamental question, I think. It keeps rattling around. Here we are thinking about giving a permit with a whole bunch of additional conditions. And that's kind of the same thing we did the last time
Mhm.
as a board.
Mm.
I wasn't here, but as a board, and none of the conditions were met.
Which is
The
what-
definition of, I don't know, doing the same thing over again and expecting a different outcome.
You're not doing it the same way.
Oh, yeah.
Well-
They're asking for the same thing. See, they've
It's-
always kept saying that this is just a reapplication.
I think in 2012 they had a pretty good argument that they were grandfathered.
No,
No, they didn't.
2012 was after 2010.
But they,
And
I'm
in
pretty
2010,
sure,
they didn't come in with a reclamation plan.
How about-
no, but I'm pretty sure that they, no, grandfathered under zoning, in other words, they had been removing gravel consistently from that property up to 2012.
No, I'll give you the details.
Okay.
No, wait a minute, timeout. We're not gonna
No,
go there.
yeah, that's-
No,
that's-
we're not- That's a
this
whole
is the-
different discussion.
This
In any
guy.
case,
And, yeah, let's
this
just
permit
focus
has
on
To
enforcement
list or not to
capabilities.
list? We'll ask
general or
Bard.
or specific. We're gonna go general for tonight. Let's move on to
We'll
the
ask
next one.
Bard about it.
If he
Yeah.
wants it specific,
Just for the record, there's documentation that they were not removing gravel between 1990 and 2012. There's town documentation that they were not doing that. And they were given cease and desist orders and told not to do it, and town council told them they were grandfathered in 1990.
told them they
Broke the
were
chain.
not grandfathered.
Broke the chain. Good.
I don't
What'd you
know.
say?
Broke the chain.
Broke the chain, right. Okay, next one. The board, after visiting the site, observed that illegal dumping of construction debris had occurred on the site. The applicant has agreed to remediate or recycle the illegal dumped debris. The debris consists of large volumes of concrete refuse in excess of blank cubic yards as reported by the applicant's engineer.
I can send him an email.
I thought he said he was actually going to remove it.
He modified his statement to say that, and I'll try and remind you that it makes a fantastic road subbase, and it might be utilized on the site if it's found not to be hazardous for that purpose.
After they remove all the rebar and all the.
If it has
Yeah.
any, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see any rebar
I'm
anywhere.
not sure, he just said
Yeah.
that. He said they're gonna crush it if there's something
They
in there,
could.
we'll take it out.
And that's an allowed use. That's encouraged by the DEP because concrete's essentially benign. Unless it's tested to have bad stuff in it. Or on it.
All right, placeholder. The number of fuel-driven engines on the site, including trucks, on-site machinery, loaders, crushers, sorters, creates potential for fuel, hydraulic fluid, and other potentially hazardous material-related accidents and spills. The board finds that fuel handling, spill prevention, training, remediation, and reporting criteria for the protection of the aquifer and other sensitive areas proximal to the site is of significant concern.
Yours.
That's mine. In the
Okay.
conditions, I've got that covered.
So we can check, we can scratch placeholder,
I took it off.
okay? 24, is there a 24 now? Or the last one, I suppose, is what it is?
So you're taking that placeholder and moving it somewhere else?
He took the words placeholder off. He
Just
left the
take it
item
off.
in there.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? That's the last one I have on this list. Draft 4, last.
Correct.
Anything else? Anybody else?
Take that to death.
Guarantee Mr. Bard will modify these.
That's fine.
Yep.
Okay,
That's it.
15, I don't know where that comes in, but.
Now, so 15 and those others, I may even just take the numbers off. Those are your, either I vote to approve or I don't. They really aren't conditions. They're the action of the board.
Oh, right.
Those are just. You taking them out or,
No, they just scratched the number 15.
And it doesn't have to be here, it doesn't have to be in that format, but
It's what we need to do.
yeah.
All right.
Did he ask for in 2012, he asked for a waiver that said he could work within 100 feet of the property line. And it's unclear to me as to whether the planning board gave him that waiver. But
Doesn't matter, he didn't ask for it this time.
he didn't ask for it this time, but his plans show work within 100 feet.
For reclamation.
No, the digging.
The digging as well?
Well, check me, I mean, I'm reading these
Is that
things like
pro-
everybody
I'm
else.
not familiar, is it prohibited by the bylaw?
Prohibited by the bylaw.
That he can't do it?
Let's find the bylaw and I'll find the 100 feet thing. Phase
That was phase.
one.
It's phase one of the close.
Here it is, right
It's
there.
phase one. It's because he's trying to capture the slope. So where am I?
This
Yeah.
is phase one, phase two, but here's the property line, and they use the property line, they term, limits of work as the property line.
Right.
And I thought limits of work should be 100 feet in from the property line.
Except in this area, what he's doing is he's blending to the existing slope that's right here. He doesn't show it very well. Yeah, he does.
And that's what allows him to work.
No, he
Is it in the
shouldn't.
bylaw or in the rules and regulations?
Yeah,
That's one, phases one and two. The other times he comes up against property lines, he owns both sides of the property line. So that's immaterial, I guess. And then in phase, in phase 5, 6, and 7, I don't see him coming, well, 5 probably does. The scale's 1 inch equals 60 feet. So 5 probably brushes up against that 100-foot limit as well. Oh, I thought he was gonna look at it.
I have a scale if you need.
No,
Is it in the rules and regulations or is it in the bylaw?
I don't know, I know it's in the,
it might be under standard conditions.
oh, that's where it is, I think. I know that would be-
Read too many documents.
Yeah, no excavation should be closer than 100 feet to public way, where is it? Total excavation is not exceed 100 feet.
No, this one.
Yeah, I believe 5 and 6 both come up within, oh, no, they don't. They don't, I'm wrong. They're out in the middle of territory.
Yeah, no, this is in the standard conditions. No excavation shall be closer than 100 feet of a public way or adjacent property line.
Unless approved by the planning board.
Phases 1 and 2 are in tight for the law.
Yeah, and they back up to the next hand.
Yes,
I've been trying to change that, fix that slope.
Making it more uniform, yeah.
So we should note that to discuss it.
well, you said that these conditions kind of go away.
Which
The SWEP,
SWIP, okay.
and in there's an awful lot of stuff about containing oil spills.
Yep.
But if this goes away,
The
maybe I'm
legal
using the
authority
wrong
does
word.
not go away until they file something called a NOT, Notice of Termination. So, I don't know if you're familiar with the Wetlands Protection Act, but they give you an order of conditions and
Yes,
that's your permit.
yes, I am, a little bit.
And then when you're done, you must file for a certificate of compliance that says, I've met your order of conditions criteria. Same thing. You file, they give you a number. You promise that you promise and you swear you'll live by their rules. And when you're done, you have to file a notice of termination so they can close your permit out.
All right, so how do we find out if there was a permit in 2012?
I'll just check it.
Okay. I struck out.
I have a shortcut to the Hubbardston link.
All right.
But that's, I guess, I wanna draw the equivalency, that's the equivalent of them not complying with OSHA. It's not the planning board's purview
Yeah.
except, but you can call OSHA.
Yeah, but you have to have somebody go look in order to understand whether you need to call OSHA or not.
Well, yeah, that's in here too. Inspections,
Yeah, but that's our burden.
it is a burden. They're gonna fund your burden.
Well, we'll see.
Right.
How you holding up?
I'm impressed that your phone can hold all this. You must have gotten a multi-gigabyte one, huh? Yeah.
Bill,
Sir,
your document opens with the word process, and it has a short paragraph. And then elsewhere in the document, it talks about, we had this hearing and that hearing and everything. Have we complied with the process part of this application, process?
yes. You're obligated to, once you accept an application, you advertise, notify abutters,
Well,
hold the
you
public
don't
hearing.
have to tell me the whole thing.
All right.
What you have to do is write down that we've done the whole thing, because that should be our finding. That should be our declaration to the public and to the applicant, to be fair to him and to be fair to the public, that we did this within the rules.
Right, that is 1 through 4.
On page one.
Findings. Page 2 maybe? 3. It's up on the screen.
Right. If a judge or somebody else reads this, they're gonna come to the conclusion that we did this correctly.
I don't know how. Yes, you followed a logical sequence and you memorialized it.
And we did it within the right timelines, and we didn't use any deadlines or,
No, I do have to add the extension letter to the exhibits.
okay. And the other thing, in the documents 1 through 19, or 1 through whatever they are now, I think I saw you adding the letters from the citizens.
Yeah.
Where did they go in? There should be 2, right?
More than
Four.
it's 4.
It's 4, okay.
Right
There they are.
there.
No, there should be 5 actually.
Yeah, Macaulay actually has 2.
2.
One on the front and
I
one on
haven't
the
gotten
back.
them all in. You guys started actually doing the hearing. So.
Yeah, I saw you typing it and I thought it was great. I just wanted to go back.
We also have the one from the abutter that you got today.
Mark Nemick and
No,
yeah, I
another-
put them over there.
And
another
from
Can't think of
Matthew
his name. Sharon.
Cloutier.
There's Cloutier, there's 2 from Macaulay.
I mean, it's one dated December 14th, 2016.
That's Macaulay.
We didn't open the public hearing process till after that. That's what it stated.
We were talking about bringing in RMI material.
In December?
That's, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep, they came in December. And Macaulay sent that letter in and asked it to be included. And then the abutter who claimed encroachment,
Dolphins?
no, Sharon, is that the name of it? Letter's over there, I know, I gave it to you.
Oh, yeah, the people that live out of town or out
Yeah,
of state,
out of
yeah.
state.
I have it.
I gave it to you today, right?
Yeah. I just haven't entered it. That's all.
Okay.
Oops.
So all those were read into the record.
Sick.
So,
The RMI people didn't spell Macaulay's name right.
Well, I'm not sure Macaulay was really talking about RMI material. She was talking about material.
Right.
I don't think she identified it as
we should
RMI.
probably, do you think we should investigate that? See
Well,
what
she-
that
Yeah, why don't we go over and ask for some of that
information.
And the,
I just
the, the other thing is, there's a lot of
Too late,
documents.
right?
Yes, sir.
And as a board, we owe the public and the applicant a reasonable review of them all.
Okay.
And I don't think I have them all. And I was hoping that our clerk would put together a 3-ring binder, because I'm old-fashioned, of all these documents, and we could stop by the clerk's office and flip through them and make sure we at least recognize these documents, if not having read them thoroughly. But it would be best if we could read them. Read them all. It's a lot of work, but we've read most of them as we went.
Mm-hmm.
But we should flip through, and it should be, oh, I don't remember reading this letter from the abutter, and you read it. And then you flip to the next one, oh, I remember that one, I remember that one, I remember that one, oh, but I don't remember that one, you read it. So you go through a process where we are all as informed as we have to be to make a good decision. And it's memorialized. It's, you know, it's in a book. It's not scattered all over our computer files and emails.
It's scattered all over my computer files.
Well, I'm wondering if it's fair to ask you or Patty to take this list and make the 3-ring binder,
Of the letters, of the 5 letters you're talking about?
the whole shebang, 19 documents.
More than that now. Well, they gave
I
the
mean,
planning board.
one of them's an inch thick, so we're not gonna do that in the binder, we can leave that out of it, but, you know, the application and the various revisions.
Just organize it in a binder is what you want?
Well, I wanna memorialize the documents, and I wanna give access to every board member.
I think I've got pretty
The
much, this
documents.
is probably what it is.
And then I want to add to it anything else people think is appropriate. I don't know, is the
Are you
2012...
speaking about future applications or for this
This
one?
application. In other
Well,
words,
It's impossible to do right now because we won't have enough time and certainly wouldn't have wouldn't have the opportunity to do it with what's going on with her, trying to catch up with minutes as well as.
well, what's the sense of the board? Is it
Well,
a valuable thing, or am I...
It's a valuable thing, but I think at this point, we don't have enough time. We have to do some major considerations on this decision before we do that. That review probably could be an ongoing exercise during the next hearing, and it's a great idea for the next hearing, but right now, it's you know, the horse is out of the barn type of situation at the moment. That's how I feel about it. I think we have to focus on other things rather than just,
Well, the purpose is to ensure that all members have seen...
well, that's the purpose of
Docs.
having a meeting and having a hearing and having distribution of paperwork. The meeting members are responsible for reviewing what we have
I think
and keeping up with it.
I think I've got almost everything, Tom.
You want to work together for
Yeah,
an
that's pretty
afternoon, and we
much-
can punch them up and stick them together and do how...
Well, I
if
mean,
we
it's a
get
hell of a lot of
You can do a cross-check too.
90% of them,
It's a lot of, copying, but pretty much,
or printing.
yeah.
I mean, every one of us should have copies of all these.
Well, we're not going to copy the 3-ring.
No, but what I'm saying is, every one of
No,
us
we
got
are.
any emails that Vinnie sent out,
Yeah,
the documents that the applicant's lawyer and the gentleman that came in with these, we all have copies of that.
Yeah, you aren't gonna have the SWIP and you aren't gonna have the drainage calculations.
you can get the SWIP, it's in the box over there. I got it.
There are multiple spares? Okay. Okay.
Well, if the board's satisfied that we've all seen the documents that we have to see, and we've all had a chance to look at them, and we understand them, then I'm fine,
Well, you know, I
but
think
it's a
it's.
process question, you know?
You know, let's not take it up tonight,
All
however,
right.
because I think the
it's an
process
excellent
right,
idea, Tom.
yeah, the process right now has reached the point of, in my opinion, that if we're gonna continue on with the standard conditions, I think it's time to, make a decision. Because there's nothing in the conditions, are relevant unless we know which way we're gonna point them and, specify them. If we're gonna approve with conditions, it's a whole different methodology. If we're gonna deny with conditions, it's something we have to consider. Either way, we don't do either one till we make a decision, and then we only do this once.
So you wanna either, but if we vote, don't we have only 5 days to make the decision?
Well, we can take a vote subject to a review by council, before it becomes official. And, or we can take a, what I call it,
Read that.
a conditional vote.
You could take a vote on what to write up.
The point being that
It says if you take an action, approval with conditions, denial, or some other, that has to be filed within 5 days to the town clerk, so that's a definitive vote. Take a definitive action.
That's what the words are, definitive?
No, it doesn't, it simply says, a
Yeah.
copy of the issued removal permit or denial thereof shall be filed at the office of the town clerk within 5 business days of the board's action.
Yeah, that puts us in a box. If we take an action,
Definitive action.
we've gotta wrap this up in 5 days.
Right, so you can
Chances of that happening
straw
are
poll it,
slim.
or it's the chairman's call, 7
Do
different
what?
ways. Straw poll.
straw poll.
What's a straw poll? What's it gonna mean, a
It's a
straw poll and an
non-binding-
action?
Non-binding indication from each member, short straw or long straw. I approve, I disapprove, this is my inclination.
I think if we did that, it would save a good deal of time. It would give town council then the opportunity to review it in the context that we mean it, and come back with his review and his comments for a definitive vote at that point.
Well,
If-
it's gonna completely change special conditions.
Absolutely.
Those are special conditions for approval. And if you go the other way, then it is reasons for denial. And as you've mentioned before, converting them, but we're gonna go through every one of them plus add others if you're denying.
So
That's
what
right.
you've written up so far is very strongly worded in a manner that it is conditions for approval.
Right.
And that's because most approval is with special conditions.
Yeah.
Now, there's a very big distinction here in that when Bill has set up these special conditions, and we've all thought about special conditions, it's in the context of saying, yeah, this is what I want it to be, to do, and how it's gonna be done. However, the connotation of what we write up, if it's denied, is gonna be similar but changed as more of a defensive rationalization than a positive action. You will be approved and you will do the following.
Well, since we've already got one side of the argument kind of written up,
Mhm.
I think what I'd like to see is the other side of the argument, because I'd like to evaluate whether they really hold water or not, whether the reasons to deny are really strong enough reasons to deny, and that would affect my vote. So I'd like to see it written up, no more extensively perhaps, but if we're reading conditions that would go along with an approval, then I'd like to read, what'd you call them? Reasons to deny,
Reasons for denying.
and see if they really are good reasons. And then you can make a rational vote. You can really choose. You can't choose if you only have one choice. You're not making a decision. You really need two things to choose between.
I don't know.
I act at the board's whim.
You act what?
At the
It's at your whim. Whatever you guys want, I'll do.
I thought you said I'll act with the board's whims. Sorry about
Well,
that.
does nobody understand?
He's
me,
heard
or-
it too that way.
I
didn't you?
I
understand
hear
you.
what you're saying.
Absolutely. It's just that
I don't think
It's
we have
work.
the time.
that's a lot of duplicate drafting.
And that's my point.
It's not duplicate.
No, but my
We've
point
already
is
got
this.
one done.
We got one done, and if we're gonna do another one, we should do it if we're gonna deny it. If we're not gonna deny it, then let's not waste that exercise. That's my point right now. I think I'm done with what we've discussed and how we've discussed it, and more than happy to draw up reasons for denial if that's the wish of the board, but I
Kind
don't
of
want.
have already done that. I gave it to you
Sure.
and to Mr. Bracco.
Right, we did that
Right,
already.
yeah, we have just.
But
as-
I didn't share it with you guys because he asked for it.
Well, would you?
If he tells me to, I will certainly.
Certainly, absolutely, yes.
Well, I think we should, I think it's,
I think the board
I
ought to
think
see
the
it.
board has to decide whether they wanna move forward with and this could be a motion, to move forward with writing a denial, reasons for denial, or do we wanna move forward writing conditions of approval? That's not specifically a vote, one way or the other.
You're right. Well done.
But that
Keep
way-
thinking,
Well,
Butch, that's
well,
what.
you've seen something I haven't seen. You've seen this
Yeah,
document that
actually,
is
we
about
did,
denial.
we did actually do that at the meeting. We
And
did
I
go
haven't
through
seen
that-
it.
That document.
It was one of these. Was it in one of these?
Yes, we
In one of
went
my
through it.
drafts.
We went through it.
At a meeting?
Yes, we did. We already did that. That was the
What's
first.
the document look like? Did you
That
put it
was the
up?
first meeting we
Maybe I'll
did.
recognize it.
Actually, that was the first meeting we did, Tom.
I just don't have a good
I have
memory
a
of
copy
it.
of it,
I got so many documents.
yeah. I think what Vin's trying to say is, I think we need to move, here, right here.
Okay, let's just take a second.
Is that draft two?
Says findings to deny,
We went that for the first
there's
meeting.
no draft, it's,
And we went through the whole thing with that, and we said the next meeting we'll go to do the findings.
I see chapter 19, earth removal in sensitive areas. No substantive evidence, gravel removal over the last 2 years. Gravel has been conducted in the last 2 years. Board finds presentation truck traffic assessment. Goes through the traffic stuff. Safety requirements.
Oh, that's
Okay, I
silly.
think this is a safety first discussion. Pedestrian traffic, endangered species. Go back to sensitive areas. I don't, I don't see aquifer in here yet. Endangered species, the applicant is asserting public hearing. He's dropped the soil materials and supplements into the property, right?
We
Yeah, it's
dropped that.
been there for a while.
He dropped
And
Oh yeah, they did.
and reclamations. So aquifer isn't in it.
I don't have that one with me.
Okay, I'm sorry if I didn't remember that one.
My whole intent, Tom, however, is based on what we have. If we have enough background for a pro or a con decision, we then construct it based on what we wanna put into, whichever way we wanna go. As opposed to going over both of them and saying, well, and I think we're ready to make a decision, quite frankly. But I think it has to be in the context that Tom made it clear that it's a tentative decision subject to review by town council and then,
And wording.
yeah, of
that. Right,
course.
Well,
so I
we
think,
worked with the
I mean,
document.
I know how I wanna vote. I think it's maybe move forward with one of the other options, cause we're limited to times. And when we talk to town attorney, he wants to know what we're deciding. And otherwise, he's gonna be paying a lawyer to draw up two completely different documents.
Well,
Does that make sense?
What do you need? Yeah.
So I
That
can,
make sense, Ken?
Mm-hmm.
so I can make a motion that we, what did I say?
Does it have to be a motion?
Yeah,
Can we
it should
just,
be, yeah.
can we just, okay.
No, I think it should be.
Well, doesn't have to be, no. It can be a consensus, so let's move forward with an approval with conditions, or let's move forward with a denial with conditions.
Honestly, I
that's-
think it's better if you don't make a motion, which is an action.
Which is an action,
Good.
right?
All we're doing is telling you what to do,
Yeah.
right? We're giving you an instruction.
Yes. You're giving me guidance which way I'm supposed to edit this part.
Now, we can do this, and the edits can come back tomorrow night, because we have a meeting posted for tomorrow night.
Well, if you can get it done, I mean, it's a lot of work.
Depends which way you're going.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, it might be a lot of work either way.
Yeah,
Well, the special conditions,
pretty much done.
nobody except Ken came back to me with any modifications. Certainly willing to edit them and add them tonight.
Yeah, is that?
And those are, as I said, special conditions for approval. And as Tom Bradcoat has said multiple times, they could be pretty readily changed to reasons for denial. But that would take probably a couple, 3 hours to go through it. And tomorrow's a pretty busy day.
Not leaving the meeting.
So instead of a
Well-
motion, you do what?
Just discuss. Just discuss amongst yourselves which way you want to go.
Alright.
So the applicant asked for a straw poll, and it's not unusual for them to ask for a straw poll to figure out which way each member of the board is leaning. And it doesn't obligate you to anything, it just gives them a direction. And I do it all the time if I can. Vince doesn't allow it during the hearing process.
Well, it's not fair during the hearing process, because it would prejudice somebody's opinion
Yeah.
or decision, or
And then
incite
you'll-
somebody.
Right, you'll notice that the applicant will start paying attention to the no's, or the applicant will start paying specific attention to the yeses, because I got my 3 yeses, so I can ignore this guy's questions and comments. Just is the process. Just don't forget, I sit on both sides of the table.
It's human nature.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So-
Get it approved, right?
We don't have to have it ready for tomorrow either. We are now able to look at a different date for that kind of reflection for a day or two, and then get together again at a different time for that discussion. But if we come up with a direction tonight that we're all leaning, and we're pretty much focusing on what we need to do, as opposed to saying, well, I'd like to see this, I'd like to see that. If you haven't made up your mind by now, I think we're not gonna change your mind based on special conditions. 'Cause your decision will be affirmative in one way or the other, and the reasons for denial or approval will be just subsequent to your decision.
And we could technically change.
Yeah, this isn't binding.
That's right.
So if we got to the end of one of those decisions, and we said, no, this doesn't look right, we can always just change it. Wouldn't be good, but we could.
Well, it also depends what the lawyer says.
Exactly.
Well, but please, don't misunderstand that. What the attorney will tell us does not necessarily mean we have to go along and change our positions.
Oh, absolutely.
Correct.
He just-
Absolutely, it's just another piece of input.
That's right. And it's just a matter of confirmation and review of the details to make sure we have done it correctly, regardless of how we do it. And if you want, I mean, if we wanted to give some type of indication to use a negative position this evening, we can spend another hour looking over these special conditions. We don't have to put it all on Bill right now. Every one of the conditions we can go through and say, change it to a negative, you know what I mean? We can do
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
We don't
We'd
have
give him a
any,
running start.
sure, we don't have any running, we don't have any time frame. Unless somebody
Well-
makes the motion.
Is
Can't make a
there,
motion.
is there a calendar situation here where we're gonna go down a road and we're gonna run out of days?
Well, we could.
Well-
Is somebody going on vacation for 2 weeks from last half of August and we're not aware of it?
See,
or-
I'm gone 23rd, 24th, 25th, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, but today's only the 9th.
I'm just saying,
Okay.
that's the only day.
I would presume we get done by then.
I would assume.
And I'm more than
Any
happy.
problem on your schedule?
No, I guess I'm confused. Do we wanna make this a motion or
We don't wanna make it a motion.
No.
no?
We wanna come up with some kind of direction without making it a motion, which is an action, which then puts a
Okay.
time frame on what we have to write.
All right.
So it's kind of a
then-
wiggling,
Then,
weaseling way around.
I think everyone just has to basically say their opinion, where
I-
they feel, where they stand right now.
All right, so let's do it this way.
we're
I-
gonna talk to you and then you're gonna give him an instruction. And is
Oh, that works. Yeah.
Or what were you gonna say? I'm sorry, I
I
cut
was
you
gonna
off.
say, I was gonna ask everybody for their opinion. But I'd rather do it your way.
Doesn't matter.
Sounds better.
Doesn't
I don't wanna argue with you. Your way sounds better. All right, so, are we clear?
Right?
Good.
I'm
So-
clear.
Tom, why don't you give us your opinion?
My
What-
opinion.
Are you inclined to approve or deny?
I'm inclined to deny. Want me to give you the reasons?
I don't think we have to drag out all the reasons, because they're gonna be in the document.
Okay,
Why do we wanna preclude ourselves?
okay. I'm inclined.
Well, he has a reason to decline it. It might change somebody's mind.
Thank you.
If you
Oh,
wanna,
okay.
if you wanna listen to it, I think it's a fair argument.
Yeah, thank you. I think
So
50.
you did win.
Thank you. I think 50 trucks a day is just gonna be unsafe, and as I mentioned earlier today, a 14-year-old boy walking up the road in the dark towards the oncoming trucks that weigh about 30 tons, I think is highly dangerous. And we can try to regulate it, okay, and we can try to get the roads fixed, but my opinion is, the majority of the cost of the repairs of the road are gonna fall on the people of Hubbardston. And the applicant has not give us any reason why this is gonna be beneficial in any way to the town. All the benefits, there's no benefit to the town that I can see of. There's gonna be heavy road traffic, not only on Pitcherville Road, but on Route 68 and in the school children. If one of the other pits asks for approval, we'd almost have to approve it. And then we're talking over 100 trucks a day, 2 trucks a day, so there's 200 trips going up and down the road, okay? Now, my research, these people, the owners of this property, are the same owners that were the property in since 1960s, okay? So, Mr. Wiggins said that this project was a continuous gravel operation, okay? Well, that's not what the records indicate. Okay, there's no records from the town doesn't have any records whatsoever from the any permits from 1960s all the way through 2012. In 1990, Louis Marinelli was cited by the Conservation Commission for failing barriers and flooded out one of the rivers. On June 9th, 1990, the owner was given opinion letter from KP Law stating the expansion of the earth removal permit operation would require a special permit. On October 22nd, 1990, the same year, Marinelli's gravel operation was citing for operating without a permit, and the town council had stated that this is a violation of zoning bylaw. On November 1st of 1990, The building inspector received a complaint from Attorney Watts representing Mark Dimick that the Marinellis were operating a gravel pit without a permit. The town of Hubbardston does not have any records of approval of an earth removal permit from 1960 to 2012. In 1990, town council determined that they have had, that any expansion of earth removal operations will require a special permit. So if they were removing gravel between 1990 and 2012, it was being done without a permit. It would have been a violation of the Hubbardston zoning bylaws. Okay, we gave Hubbardston Sand and Gravel a earth removal permit, okay, in 2012. And the owners of the properties were the Marinellis, we all know all that. Okay? So the current owner now is the same owner that was there in 2012, but it did change hands. The current owner has not fulfilled many of the obligations of the 2012 permit. The transfer of the existing permit was never been requested by the current owner. The applicant and their agents have submitted the same plan that submitted in 2012 and has stated many times that this is just a reapproval or renewal of the 2012 permit. In 2012 permit, page 3, page 5, permit renewals may only be granted if the applicant has complied with all the conditions of the original permit and has corrected any violations in a manner satisfactory to the planning board. The current owner has not complied with these conditions of the original permit. The statements that Mr. Wiggins has said are not supported by the facts. Okay, DJ Palm bought back the property in foreclosure on 5/2/2014, 47 days after the earth removal permit had expired. Any earth removal after that time has been done without a permit. The locks were changed on the gate by the selectmen because the gravel removal continued after the permit had expired. There had been unauthorized access to town property, illegal dumping was occurring at the Minerally pit. That's why they were. We gave these people, one of the big arguments is, should we give these people a permit with special conditions? We've already tried that. That doesn't work. Their history of this gravel operation, at least from the records in the town, shows that they were removing gravel. They cut down all the trees on lot 36 and started excavating without a permit, never asked anyone. Okay, so all the permit, we keep trying to help these people and give them permit. But every time we give them a permit with special permissions, they slap us in the face and they don't do the work. This is my opinion. Okay, the other problem is the loss of property values and tax revenues of the Pitcherville Road and other parts of town, with an additional 50 to 100 trucks a day going on there. The residents along Route 68 and businesses along Route 68 corridor are gonna be adversely affected for this. Okay? So I strongly believe that this only way to control the situation is to deny the permit. And then, we've already beat to death the aquifer thing. I just don't think this operation should be allowed in an aquifer. So I think the permit should be denied.
Tom, your reflections?
Yes, I'm also inclined to deny. I'd like to say that what we say and how we say it is important as we speak to each other. But what I really want is a well-written document. That's the thing that will stand. And so that's why I'm expressing myself the way I am. I'd like a well-written, no offense, Bill, I'm trying to say that I'd like a more final version of the to deny factors.
Okay.
I'm not gonna elucidate them or say them all.
That's fine.
I'd just like to have a document just the same way we did. We'll work on it and build it.
Kendall?
I'm willing to give them the permit with special conditions, but the most important one is, number one, they have, and I'm gonna read it, all pre-construction requirements of these special conditions shall be met prior to the initiation of gravel removal on the site. So, if we decide to go ahead and go through the special conditions, they've got to meet each and every one of them prior to them doing anything up there. And if they do that, fine. If they don't, then they don't get the permit.
I am not inclined to grant this permit either. For many reasons, primarily because I think the benefits to the town are so negative that they're not even worthy of the term benefits. And the history of the operation has just laid waste to a beautiful area of town. And I guess I'm very dubious of any positive reactions coming out of that situation up there. So be it. We'll move forward with a reason to deny with conditions or
Well, reasons,
reasons
to
for
deny.
denial.
and I believe they have to be related to law. In other words, we have a finding, and then that finding relates to the
Well,
law.
we have findings already, we're not gonna go back
No,
over
no,
the
but I mean,
findings.
we take a finding and we relate it to law. People are, our job is to protect the water, for instance, I'm just using an example.
Okay,
And then you take the aquifer thing and you relate it to the law that says we're supposed to be in charge of protecting water.
all right, so let's take it, and if you're willing, we'll sit here for another half, 45 minutes or an hour and go over conditions for denial.
I think you also brought up an excellent point. Well, two things. I hope that we, no matter which way it goes, as we develop these documents, if it looks weak, then we go back the other way, I don't know. But no matter which way it goes, I'd like to see the board in agreement, unanimity. I think that should be our goal. Doesn't have to be, but it's a worthy goal. Second thing is, I think when we write these, we have to pick up on your point, that it's a whole town impact. It's not the X number of houses on Pitcherville Road. It's a whole town impact.
All right, let's,
I'm ready to go.
we ready to sit and do a little more work, or?
You wanna do it another night, or you wanna do it tonight?
I think we give Bill a head start, we do it tonight. Is that
Good.
all right with everybody? I mean,
Where do we
what
start?
else do we have to do?
Oh, you mean like
Like-
cut my grass and?
It's too late for that. It's too late to drink beer.
It's never too late for that. Where do we start, Bill?
We start right here on page 9. And we're basing the premise of,
Page 9 of 18?
just going to say it in quotations, it may not be the preamble, but we hereby deny the DJ Palm nominee trust application for gravel for a major, is it major? Is it a
Mhm.
large
Bill?
large scale,
Mhm.
You're gonna make
gravel.
this like 5-1 or something, or 5? You're not
for a
getting
la-
rid of 4-1.
let me finish this, Tom, let me finish this, so I don't lose my thoughts here.
I don't know.
For-
I was doing something else there momentarily.
a large-scale gravel removal permit. Because number one,
Christina,
When you go, I have to go, so I was just wondering if, when you put these all together.
and you want me to hear this question?
I'm sorry. I have to go, because I'm on deadline, but I wanted to know, you're putting all these reasons, and that'll come back before your board for consideration, correct?
Correct.
We have to actually vote on that.
We're not voting on any
So you're
conditions, we're
giving
not
him-
even voting on a motion.
Right, so.
We're giving him an instruction to
Instruction
develop
to
this
develop
new this
what
document.
your reasons are. So that's how I'm gonna probably say that it'll come back before your board.
Well,
for
what your reasons may
consideration.
be.
What they may be, right, right, okay. Alright, do you know when you might be meeting again?
We have
for
an,
this?
we have a
Posted.
posted meeting for tomorrow evening at 6.
Okay, so maybe then.
I can see it now. Stand by, folks.
Exactly. Alright, thank you.
Decision due. Don't jump the gun on us.
I'll try not to.
Bring your camera tomorrow night. I'm sure everybody wants pictures and everything, you know.
yeah, I think not.
We're all-
Back
I
to
gotta
doing
do
that.
something.
We'll have we'll have pictures
Good
from us
night.
with bullseyes and
Good night.
Bill doesn't wanna be
Good night,
quoted
Christine.
anymore.
doesn't wanna what?
Wanna be quoted anymore. So we'll take whatever we write and we, proverbial bill, we come up with tonight. We can actually send that to the town attorney and he can start working on it.
I expect to speak with Joel tomorrow. And I think the best thing to do is give him whatever we compose.
I just did that.
Whatever we can compose and let him review it, come back to us.
Is he, oh, you haven't talked to him yet, so
Missed him.
hopefully it's him.
You mean,
Well, I'll speak with him. Yeah, he'll do it.
I mean,
But,
and
yeah.
he'll be the guy doing
Sure,
the
yep.
work, yeah.
Boy, I just came up with a big concern.
have you asked him any questions yet?
Haven't spoken to me.
I'm gonna lose my leverage to get paid.
What are you gonna do?
Lose my leverage to get paid.
Certainly, yeah. But then again, it'll be something we can add to the court case.
It may not be.
May not be.
Okay, reason to deny.
Have you got any intro you wanna insert here at this point, or anything you wanna add for?
Not off the top of my head. I'm gonna have to go back and find some of those special phrases that need to be inserted here.
Alright, that's fine. Alright, so let's, take standard conditions here on page 9. See which one applies, we wanna insert as a reason to deny and go through it all. And when we finish these, then we have our own, I'm sure, reasons.
So we're gonna begin not with the standard conditions general?
That's correct, we are going to begin.
Okay.
Alright, let's just read them all, read them to yourselves, and if there's a modification or if there's a reason to include number 1, we'll include it. If not, we'll move on to number 2.
Well, the hours of operation is not, is that a moot point, or,
It is if there's no permit given.
although that hours of operation could be unacceptable because of the traffic on the road?
If you wanna switch it that way.
Well, the hours of operation obviously impinge or impact, school pickup and drop-off hours.
I don't think we go there. I think because hours of operation could be made flexible, it's not a real good reason to deny.
Or about the seasonality that Tom had mentioned before, he asked the specific question. How long would it take you at 50 trucks a day to take your however many 100,000 cubic yards per phase? And they said 6 months, which means they could substantially operate the pit outside of school months. Well, two of the school months anyway, right?
Mhm.
July and August.
Yeah.
June, July, and August.
They can't operate in the winter though.
They can and they want to. If it's dry, they can all
But
sand and
that's,
gravel.
that's what I was getting at. It's not the type of condition that you can hang your hat on without somebody saying, but we could've done it this way, we could've done it that way, right? So I think we just omit it,
Okay.
go along with something else.
But do we wanna mention the fact that they didn't suggest anything? I mean, if I was coming up against resistance, I would
But-
start to compromise in some way.
But
But-
but these are standard hours of operation that are in our rules and regulations in our bylaws.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, we don't wanna contradict what we have put in there. And I think if we say you can't do that because you don't wanna conform to the standard hours of operation and we're not willing to modify it, what if they say, okay, we'll take it between 6:30 and 4, that's fine with me. We've got no argument, we've got no basis for that argument.
The traffic study thing will come up later anyway.
Yeah, it'll all end up being there, but I think each and every one of these conditions, if the ability to twist it to a reason for denial is available, we can do it. If it isn't, then we just ignore it and go on to the next one.
Look at number 5.
Well, do we wanna jump over to?
No, he's gonna use this as an example, so go ahead.
Oh,
Well, number 5, permit renewal, as Tom said earlier, permit renewals may be granted only if the applicant has complied with all conditions to the original permit and corrected violations.
He had not,
And you're not allowed to grant waivers.
right?
So, that's an example of what we can do to use as a reason to deny. So let's go, okay. Okay, we clear on that?
not yet.
Okay.
There's no permit in place.
Permit conditions didn't expire because they never complied.
Oh, okay, you're going back to the 212,
Right.
okay, 2012.
So let's go back to number 2 now and see if that can be used.
Well, do we wanna look at the 2012 permit and say they never did screening and,
We do now.
yeah. Okay, then I have
For
something
number
on
2,
that.
with screening for noise thresholds, is that what you want?
Well, I'm running on memory here, but,
I'll go through the 2012 permit and add those conditions, non-compliant conditions in here.
I understand, we'll do that, but what
Yeah.
I'm saying to you, everybody tonight, is if we take an orderly fashion going through standard conditions general and see if 1 applies, that we wanna reverse it, or 2 applies, or 3 applies, then we'll save some time. If nothing does that, we then continue on until we find them, and then add the additional ones that we all have,
okay, so you just want yay or nay on these?
pretty much, you know. that way-
Applicable or not.
Right,
All right, then hours of operation won't be argued about. Noise,
We got the
noise is applicable. We need to address what they were supposed to do to mitigate noise under 2012 and didn't do it. And might be wrong, but I think I remembered that they would do screening.
So, just as an example,
Well,
we
wait a
feel
minute,
as though
time,
that-
wait a minute, excuse me, Tom. We don't have any data that says they exceeded permissible levels in 2012 to 2014.
No, we don't.
So let's not go there until we come back to, until we review the specific conditions of the 2012, let's just take what these general standards are and see if we can use them.
So we'll just put a questionable on number 2 for now. You can always come back to it.
3, limit of work shall be described in the permit application. That's fine. It's gonna happen. No excavation may extend below 4 feet. Okay, that happens. 5, no permit shall be issued for longer than 2 years. Permit renewal applications shall be accompanied by an operations plan for the permit period being applied for an updated site plan. Permit renewals may be granted only if the applicant has complied with all conditions of the original permit and has corrected any violations in a manner satisfactory to the planning board. So we would be able to say that the 2012 permit conditions were not complied with during the period of the permit
314
From 2012 till,
through
Till
2000
now.
from, no,
314 2012 to 313 2014.
it's only good for 2 years. And present owners are still responsible for those conditions which remain unmet.
And you're saying, Bill, not to put the specifics, or do you put the specifics in the denial? Yes, you do put the specifics in.
it's the old included but not limited to. I
Yeah.
mean, we don't need to nail the list,
Can
we
you
just
get
need.
that? You have that.
Yeah, I don't know if I have the 12 permit.
You have the copy?
I do.
I do.
Can you email it? Scan it?
Yeah,
Or I can always get it from Patty.
yeah, probably better.
Well, yeah, but it's a step,
She's not,
she's not there tomorrow.
yeah, Wednesday she'll be there sometime, but
I have it here, Bill.
Today is
So I'm gonna
Wednesday.
leave, and-
Well, the other thing you can do
Today-
is let
yeah,
me
she's
take it
not
with
there
me
tomorrow.
and I'll scan it. and-
I'll make a
Today's
copy of
Wednesday.
it.
Yeah,
We can do
I'm trying to tell you.
The, I've already, you want the copy with my list of them?
Sure.
Yeah, your notes are fine, Tom.
What, I mean, I made a list of.
Yeah, but it's not a complete list, but it's a quick check.
Yeah,
There's other things that, I have it in my hand if you want me to just go over to that copy machine.
does that have page 7 in it?
Yes, it does.
Oh, you gonna make a copy, Tom?
Yeah, be glad to. Anybody else want one?
I do.
might as well make it for all of us.
That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
I've got one.
4. Going once.
5. Well, you have one. That's right. 4. Done. Count at the empty chair.
Two-sided, okay?
You having fun yet?
Falling asleep with no lights on over here.
Yeah, this is what I found. And I just see these. This is a Cumberland, Mass. With 188. What that was about.
Nothing with it.
I have to look up the correct. It's just an interest. It's just a tidbit of information. That's all. Nothing important. I will find out what it is.
98.
my copy. That first page has nothing to do with the rest of it.
Oh,
That's just their
oh, jeez.
what's that?
The, 36.5 degrees west by 100 rods to the town line. Pretty old deeds.
Oh boy, how they out?
It's a rod, 15.5 feet?
16. 16 and a half.
Did they ever get a bond from that 2012? They were supposed to give a bond. Did they ever give a bond?
Not that I know.
Which is something we gotta follow up on the solar farms too. They're supposed to be giving you an annual report and they're supposed to be depositing money into their bond account every year, 2.5%.
Not on the agenda.
True.
Talk about it later.
True.
As much as I'd like to go into it because of a few things, but
I had to move this along. I'm glad we moved this along.
what the hell?
Okay, so we already said that?
Number 6, permits are transferable with the approval of the planning board, that's not applicable. Permittee shall provide contact information to planning board, not applicable. 7, that is. 8, any order of conditions established, not applicable. Permit holder must comply with any and all other requirements, won't be applicable. 10, the permittee shall submit an operations report.
Do number 9,
Mm-hmm.
do you wanna say that we are aware that they did not comply?
With the 2012? Sure, we can do that.
They did, what about they did not, they're in violation of the,
They're potentially in violation of state and federal permits.
Today's the 9th, huh?
Thank you, sir.
25 years and 1 day.
We'll figure this out.
one long day.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations.
Once you get to me, 40 years. You've been married a long time too, man.
Me?
Yeah,
Only 35. Thank you,
I married a child.
Tom. A young lady, you mean?
She's 20.
Don't wanna start any particular rumors.
Oh, you know what I'm
With
doing.
that hair exposed, you know?
Speaking of the microphone. Everybody got a copy?
All right, we're on number 9. The permit holder must comply with any and all other requirements of federal, state, or local law applicable to the operation.
That's the check in the swept thing?
The,
I will change that word. Unless you wanna give me the word, but I need to look that up.
the applicant
The permit holder, the applicant,
did not fulfill these requirements under their 2012 permit.
The applicant and the owner.
Well, they are, in this case, they are the applicant.
That's right, you're right.
How's that, Bill? Got it?
I added, and these requirements remain.
Okay. Incompleted or incomplete. Oh, remain
Unresolved.
uncompleted. Remain unfinished.
Non-compliant?
Remain
Unfinished.
unfinished.
Are outstanding?
Outstanding.
Are outstanding. Requirements are outstanding.
Unfinished.
Whatever.
10, the permittee shall submit an operations report to the planning board. Such operations report an estimated timeline to complete the removal operations as permitted.
Never did that.
No such report by applicant submitted under 2012 permit.
The 2012 permit, the current owner, DJ Palm, was not the applicant in 2012.
But they were responsible for the conditions.
I agree with that, but they could argue that they weren't involved. I suppose they could have done that.
They are when they buy it back.
Yeah,
Okay, let's move on. We'll worry about that legal
yep.
later.
That's interesting about in the findings, we should note that.
Number 11, the permit shall not become effective until the applicant has filed the proper security and paid all required fees and review costs. I'm not aware of them not paying anything,
Yeah.
so they can't use that. Standards of operation. Site preparation, all topsoil displays shall be stockpiled on the site and adequately
They
protected
didn't?
from erosion until termination of the operation or restoration. That was not a fulfilled term either, correct?
Yep, they never,
I didn't see any down there. Now, we gotta be careful.
Now, there is topsoil down there.
Yeah, well, there's, the synthetic soil from RMI, right?
with RMA soil, they didn't stockpile anything.
There's no native, or there's no claim to any native.
We can't substantiate that, so ignore. B, prior to
Whoa, whoa,
any,
whoa, whoa, whoa.
we can't substantiate whether they did or they did not remove topsoil, or if they asked us, they may never have asked us, they may never have done it. We don't have any record of that. We can't use it as a reason.
Well, but why are they bringing in topsoil?
Well, because there wasn't very much topsoil. This is a standard of operation that's in there. This is not applicable to them in 2012. This is a general standard for everybody. There may not have been anything there in 2012 to remove.
Okay, I hear you.
It was pretty much a wasteland then as well. Prior to any excavation of earth removal, adequate siltation basins shall be constructed to prevent runoff silted water from the site. That was done, right?
Mm.
All excavation shall be done so as to create contours to channel runoff waters. Yes.
Yes.
Siltation basins may be cleaned when sediment deposits are within 18 inches. We don't have any,
So all these things, we're gonna just delete these, cause these are not issues, right?
well, these are not issues for our
Yeah, so we're
our
just,
reasons,
when you
right.
say, yeah, we're just deleting them.
Right.
Yeah, I'm only keeping the ones that I've highlighted in red.
Right, what we want.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Site
better
maintenance,
leave.
well, we're going through them.
No, no.
No
it's-
excavation shall exceed 25 feet in height unless it's tiered in sections no higher than 25 feet each. Tiers shall provide a minimum bench of 10 feet wide. Total open excavation height, I don't think we can substantiate that.
Hmm?
Yeah, we can.
Now, we can?
Yeah, we're standing up there looking down at that water pond and that siltation
Or
pond.
was that done under the 2012 permit or just,
It was made in 1960, according to them.
Applicable then.
It was.
Was it?
1990 it was.
The benching,
Yeah, it mentions, well,
I think that's a 2010.
well, I don't have a permit from anything prior to 2012, so.
let it go.
let it go, or?
Well, if we can't substantiate, we can't use it as a
Why
part.
doesn't his drawings show it?
Yeah, the existing condition,
Yeah, they show the
updated from
elevations.
the aerial topo.
Yeah,
Can we use it?
If it shows that, I'm pretty sure it shows
Elevations.
I
A
wanna
and
be
B
on-
on this one.
I wanna be on 6, okay?
Certainly closer than 100 feet to the public way, to the
Property line.
property line. I think that was a condition on here.
Well, there was a waiver request for that on 2012, so that was granted.
In the 2012 permit, no excavation shall be closer than 100 feet to a public way or adjacent property line unless the planning board approves, unless approved by the planning board.
Only 2 waivers were granted.
Is it on the
I think
drawing?
those are very, very fine lines that we don't wanna cross because we don't wanna have it questioned. C, however, I think is fairly easy to substantiate. No permanent slope shall exceed a 2-foot horizontal to 1-foot vertical grade. They're higher than 2 to 1, aren't they, grades?
But I would argue they aren't permanent. It's a gravel removal, and they're proposing to keep removing gravel until they get it permanent.
Okay,
I do think that we can probably document they have open excavations exceeding 25 feet unless tiered. That's on
Yeah.
the existing condition.
That exists today.
And then B, no excavation shall be closer than 100 feet to a public way or adjacent property lines, and that was not a waiver that was granted. I
Well,
think
was
you
that-
got.
How do you know?
I think
Why was it on the original
on
2012?
2012.
It was on the original drawings? That they were gonna do that?
Yeah, that I don't. Well, we do have the 2012 drawings, because that's what they initially submitted.
I think it's a call we don't wanna take. Forget A and B,
Okay.
forget C.
Well, A, I think, is totally,
If you look on the 2012 permit, front page, item 2. Waiver requested.
Huh, look at that.
The question is, was it granted?
Well, it said waivers on page 3.
And no waivers could be granted for that, or should have been granted, but that's,
How do you know if the waiver was granted?
it'll have to be
What else?
voted on.
I know, but in this document.
There should be a vote someplace. Waivers on page 3 of 9.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't say what action was taken.
Was accepted.
Oh, was accepted.
What was accepted?
The waiver to require the,
Use of a narrative format instead of a submitted report to discuss traffic impacts was accepted.
Yeah, but that's not the waiver that they talk about on page 1.
Right.
And then the next waiver is modify the monitoring wells. So I don't see where the 100-foot thing was accepted.
Nope.
well, we technically shouldn't have been able to grant it, because we can't grant waivers for
Well, I don't see where you did grant it.
So we didn't.
So we put those in there?
A and B.
We can come back to it.
The only other thing is on the top of page 5,
Are you on the 2012 permit?
2012 permit. They talk about 100 feet of the property line for storing stripped and piled.
On page 5?
Top of page 5, item H. It implies that they're working within 100 feet.
Let's go over A and B,
All
let's
right.
drop it, because if we
All right.
can't substantiate it, we're moving on. C, no permanent slope, we got that one, right? No, we're not doing that. D, no areas shall be excavated so as to cause accumulation of standing water. No earth removed less than 4 feet above the estimated high water. No earth removal shall create excessive amounts of dust or allow roads leading into or from a site to become excessively dust producing.
Well,
We don't have,
Oh, that's a good one.
on E.
except we can't substantiate it.
Well, yeah, we can. They've not done anything to those roads.
Well, I don't have any evidence to say that there's dust on that road during that
They were
period.
only allowed, I believe they're only allowed to use water for dust control.
But
They weren't supposed
my
to. oil
point
the
is,
roads.
we didn't monitor it, we don't have any data to say they did or didn't do it.
No, but they've left the site, since they've stopped in a condition that creates dust storms up there.
Not only that, they can't have it both ways. They can't say it's in continuous operation and therefore dust should have been controlled, or it's been abandoned and dust is not controlled. How can that, you know,
I mean, they've left that place in the condition that, and I've been up there on windy days. It's like, you might as well be, at the desert. I mean, it's just dirt blowing across everywhere. And they've left it in that condition. I mean, I'm not saying that's a reason to deny, but I mean, that's kind of a fact.
Well, that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to establish those.
I think we should leave that open for now. I mean, I think we go through and wipe out as many as we can, then we kinda do another pass and,
Okay. All wood stumps, we don't have anything for that. All earth that is stripped and piled, we left exposed for a period of greater. That's part of the conditions you were reading earlier, that's in our. We don't have any of that. Screening and access, these are standards that we don't have any monitoring for. That's what their process was, their operations.
so screening and access, we don't have any, that's nothing.
No one says that. The access road shall be gated and left open only during active operations. This gateway shall be located back from the travel way so the vehicle can pull off the public way, without the gate is being locked or unlocked.
Well, that's one thing, they've never created their own, they've never secured their own property.
Yeah, but that's not what this is. This is the access road gate. D, all areas within, how did I get to it? D, screening and access, okay. All areas within 150 feet of the travel way shall be stabilized or restored. Alright, not a big deal. All access roads leading to the public way shall be treated with suitable material to reduce dust and mud. Again, I don't have any evidence for that. All access roads shall be level with the existing streets for a distance. That was never
wait,
done.
let's go back to D. Why isn't D in non-compliance category? I didn't see very much stabilized up there.
Well, they're not within 150 feet of a traveled way or an abutting property.
They have a completed earth removal operation in their mind. Have not.
Well, they're supposed to complete it every 3 acres, right?
They haven't done that. That's what we're saying. They're not.
And when's that coming up?
Well, that comes up when we,
That's on number 7 on the next page.
yeah,
Okay.
these are standards that are already in our bylaw, that are either we can substantiate that they did or did not do. If we
All right,
can't, we
all right.
move on.
Yeah, I don't think we
I'm
can do that.
mixing up categories.
FG, a stop sign shall be installed at the exit. There was no stop sign.
Well, F,
F, what did I miss it?
they can't make that requirement with the existing access way. They asked for that waiver. It's a reason to deny, they can't comply.
That's right. Well, no one said they were gonna use it, though. I didn't think we could use that, because they don't have control over the access way. It owns by the town, so,
Right, they can't, that's what Bill's saying, is they can't comply with it.
that's right.
Well, Wiggins says that they have rights to pass and repass over that.
They have rights to pass and repass over the granted right of way. They don't have it over the town access.
I thought he said that they did have that right.
There's no right
No
there.
right.
There was no lease signed on that, and there was no, written agreement signed on it, from what I can tell.
There's a lot of documentation on that road, and how it was built, Nolan Brown actually.
Okay, let's go on. Stop
Okay.
sign shall be installed, not a
that's
big
right.
deal.
So we are gonna keep that slope thing in there, right? Cause that's a big deal. We
Which
could-
one are you
we
talking
could-
about?
The a reason to deny was because they couldn't conform to number
F?
F.
Well, can't they make the argument that they did on their property?
No, they have to do it to the
They-
public
yeah.
way.
With the existing streets.
Alright,
But they don't have ability to do that
yeah, they
unilaterally.
don't own it.
They don't own it.
Right, so they can't
They
comply
can't
with that.
Can't comply with it.
That's a reason, you said that, reason to deny, just that reason. One
That's a
of-
reason
And we
to,
can't grant a waiver.
And it's a safety issue.
oh, that's where you was talking about.
Yeah, you can't grant a waiver on that.
The existing right of way doesn't comply with the requirements. You can't grant a waiver to release them from it, so what they're proposing does not comply.
I'll buy that one.
Wait a minute now, let's think about that. They have a right of way, and they can approve the right of way.
They didn't in their application. They didn't propose to utilize their right of way.
They have-
This application says this is where I wanna gain access to the site.
Oh, I got you. Okay. All right. so
Which
we can-
isn't the right of way,
Is not their right of,
yeah.
and does not meet the criteria.
All right,
And in
so-
order to meet the criteria, they gotta go down from the road 100 feet at 2%, which means they're cutting 2 feet lower than the elevation of the road, which means they're cutting like, I don't know, 30 feet before they can start going up. 30 feet down, cause it's
Mhm.
like this, there right away. Have to do this and that.
And the town would have to get a permit to remove all that.
I would suggest that it's part of your earth removal permit.
Their earth removal,
Yeah,
but the town owns it.
not their right of way. Their right
They
of
own
way
the
is
land,
just to
though.
the right. Oh,
Oh, if they're gonna remove that quantity of material, then they would have to get an earth removal permit or included in this permit to do that.
probably.
And that was not included in this.
Okay, so
That
let's
would be
not,
illegal, you know, overburdening the easement and denying them the right of reasonable access and use.
so how do we wanna word that? All access roads,
Well,
they
I'd
have
like to-
no control over access road.
Can't be complied with.
They wanted to use, they proposed using. And the planning board is prohibited from granting waiver to that. To that condition. H, again, not complied with in 2012. temporary structures don't apply. Are you done, Bill? I'm sorry. I'm just rambling along.
As am I.
Where are you? Still on F?
Yeah. Got wordy again. So applicants are proposing to utilize town-owned access road, which is not contained within their right-of-way. The town's access road does not comply with the requirements of this condition section of the bylaw, prevents the planning board from granting waivers for large-scale earth removers, making the use of the existing right-of-way not compliant with applicable criteria.
Or in the application? They did not apply for the use of the existing right-of-way in their application.
By the existing right-of-way, you mean their owned one?
What's that? 4 and 5 are just irrelevant. 6 is irrelevant. 7.
Well, temporary structures,
Where are
there
you?
is, 4 temporary structures. There were temporary structures. There's a scale house. Scales.
Yeah, but they're all gone. They're
Well,
temporary and
not,
they're
the
gone.
foundations aren't gone. I don't know what the requirements are. I remember going out there and seeing foundations. I don't know what
That'd be a
the,
hard one to fight.
well, I know, I don't know what the foundation looks like under the ground.
Let's not
It
worry
might be-
about it. Blasting is not applicable. Site restoration, closeout. A, 3 acres. B, except as white restoration will so be completed within 60 days after expiration. C, land must be left in condition no less valuable for development for uses allowed. And D, upon completion of the operations, none of those A, B, C, or D conditions were met in the original permit.
Yeah. A, B, C, or D, D4, D5.
When we say not met in the original permit, are we saying they're not met today?
We're saying that they did not comply with the standards of operation in their original permit,
In the permit that governs them today?
in their 2012 permit.
I'm trying to get today in. I don't want someone to read this and say, whoa.
They're still responsible for taking restoration and closeout, even though the permit is not
Is-
viable from
Right.
2012 to 2014.
I understand
It's
that.
expired, but they're still responsible to maintain the conditions or to fulfill the conditions of it. And these are conditions of the
Okay.
bylaw that they haven't fulfilled.
So I've got 4, but I don't know about 5.
What about 1, 2, 3? Did you know?
Yeah, I got 1 through 4.
1 through 4.
Artificial material used for topsoil permitted by the planning board. Well, that stuff, that artificial material is actually supposed to only be stored on the site
No,
for
two.
90 days, something? I remember they were telling us that.
That's what RMI said, I think.
RMI said that. I think it says it in their brochures too.
But I think you're allowed to store it in a stabilized condition? You have to stabilize it? No?
I don't know.
I'll have to read RMI's document.
I'll get back to you on that, Bill.
To be determined. Number 5.
I'm gonna highlight it so as not to erase it.
6, unless permit conditions expressly require or allow alteration of drainage patterns, the land shall be left, no, that's, they left that already. All equipment, building instructions, erection of premise for personal or storage equipment shall be removed. They took that down.
Within 90 days, experts, yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
Well, that's another reason to prove that they didn't intend to fulfill their obligations and just moved everything out.
That's what they had to do.
You could also argue that
I
they
know, but
don't
they
need a
did.
scale to reclaim, unless they wanna weigh what comes in.
Inspections, well, those are not really applicable.
Well, did they do inspections? Did the town, did they get engineering reports?
I think the 12 permit says they're supposed to report every 6 months with quantities removed and, you know, the how's it going report. I don't find any records of that.
Well, I don't recall any, but I don't have the file, so I don't know what the,
I don't recall any.
none.
None, that was not done. Well, there's nothing indicated anywhere in the records in the town.
Okay.
Nor do you have, I think 1, 2, 3. Do you
No.
have any correspondence?
None.
We have some sort of correspondence.
I don't even think we have a deposit.
With deposit for what?
Inspections.
But then again, if we didn't require it, then we can't blame them if we didn't
Do it.
insist on it. So let's move on from there.
No 2? What about 3?
3,
Yeah.
I think we,
Just stepping back for
All
a
right, so
second.
put in 3 there, yep.
A10 in the 12 permit, general A is general, 10 is the permittee shall submit an operations report to the planning board every 6 months containing details of the amount of material removed, percent of restoration completed, and an estimated time frame to complete the removal operations as permitted.
they never did that.
Well, they didn't present any evidence that they did.
Okay,
D, surety and performance bond. Well, again, if we didn't collect it, it's shame on us.
well, but they should have provided it.
How do we know we don't have one?
We don't.
Should we ask the treasurer?
I'm sure they would ask for it back.
Well,
Well, not a bond, they wouldn't have, would they? Because bonds expire.
well. Who asked the treasurer? Want me to? I will. Is it worth it, or
Yeah.
what are we doing?
I don't think it's relevant, because that's kind of like a two-way street. We didn't require it, we didn't insist on it, they didn't offer. I don't know if it's a valid
So we
reason.
drop it?
Yep, I would.
Plenty of other reasons.
But 3 on the other hand.
What, Bill?
Number 3 under D3, after completion of the operation.
We may grant the partial release of security, which we didn't get when we don't have one.
Yeah, the remainder of security shall be released after the operation has been completed or the permit has expired.
And the town agent certifies that. Did you certify that?
Not me.
Let it go. Special conditions.
They never notified us of the change of ownership.
All right, let's see.
But these are all now new permit criteria, not old.
Well, let's look at 12.
Well, no, what we're doing now is we're into a new segment, and if what we wanna use any of these conditions to deny it, we can use it. If we don't, we just do the same thing we've been doing. Because some of them may not apply, because this was something that could be used for approval. 25 is, A doesn't matter. Oh, wait a minute, what am I saying? 25, the applicant shall have changes made to the existing roadway, pitch of the road, as outlined in the submitted truck. Well, if we're not gonna approve it, they don't need to do any of that.
Do any what? The
25,
5?
25. One page, yeah, right here. This, well, you have it number 1, I have it number 25.
Are you on draft 4 or 4.1?
He's on 4.
I'm 4. Wait, is there another one?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I'm doing pretty good up till now, you caught me. I don't have 4.1.
4.1 is a change of ownership or,
Is
of
it
the
up there,
property.
Bill?
Yeah.
I'll read it off there. Okay, let me read it up there.
Which one do you want? The roadway one?
I'm on section E, special conditions. That's the beginning, it's page 14 is the one I was. Oh, yeah. So number 1, ownership. That's not gonna be relevant.
Because the ownership changed after the
Because they
permit
won't have a,
expired.
they won't have a permit, however.
I thought the change of ownership was in 2014 after the permit expired.
Well, we can then say that no ownership change was notified to the board in 2012.
I'm looking to see if that was actually in their permit. I don't see.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Permit, 2012,
Yeah.
the whole thing is in there. Page.
All the permit is transferable upon approval of the planning board after the submission of the operation. That was never done.
Where are you? On 12?
Page 3,
Right.
number 6.
Page 3 of the 2012 permit.
Yeah, number 6.
I think it's just this.
Well, are we correct that Bill's gonna go through the 2012 permit and?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have to keep bouncing back and forth, that's my,
Yeah, we don't wanna miss anything. Not that Bill would.
Well, we can point it out, it's gonna save him some time tomorrow with his day that he's got, so we get it done. Anything else on that? We're gonna go 20, next one is regular reporting.
That was not done.
That's all part of the responsibilities of the applicant out of the previous permit, right?
It's
Hmm?
right there. Yeah, it's right there.
Yep.
Number 10.
Alright, so highlight that. And then 3 changes to the approved plans and operations, that doesn't matter. 4, the applicant shall make or have changes made to the existing road or Pitcherville Road. That's not relevant.
Oh, wait a minute, that's relevant.
No, it isn't, not if we don't give him a permit.
Well, it's a reason for denial, though.
Well, that's, yeah, but not as it's stated there, that's a whole different situation. We could state that the Pitcherville Road is not safe.
yeah,
That's
aren't we
determined.
supposed to be identifying things that we can change the wording of
Well,
and use for a
yes,
denial?
what we're trying to do is go through the document as it is and see if any of these arguments are applicable to a denial, and then add any of the special stuff that we want afterwards. For instance, the traffic study said that the Pitcherville Road was not safe. You know, we'll get it in there, but it won't be in
Yep.
this format, right?
Right, okay.
That way we get,
Yes,
this,
there is.
this is the established document that we have that Bill can work with quickly enough. My All right, Bill, we are working on that? All right, so we're
Although I
up.
was gonna do A, B, C, cause I can change those to, reasons for denial pretty easily. They didn't give us timing, methodology, construction costs, widening the public way as indicated by the engineer's report, and site distance clearing,
So
easements.
you wanna cut and paste, put those at the end? Get those out of that document where it is now, and,
Yeah, sure.
you know? Like I said, if with that way we can just keep the continuity of what we're doing. Those are valid reasons, just not in this flow that we're trying to establish.
Oh, let's pick green. Yeah, too hard to see.
So you can change all these things here to denial reasons.
Most.
Yeah,
Most of them, yeah.
yeah.
No products brought onto the site from off-site areas or sources shall be disposed of on the site. That's not applicable. No product brought onto the site. 6 is not applicable. 7, the applicant and operator shall comply with the town and hub, doesn't matter. Monitoring, doesn't matter. No excavation, doesn't matter. KD. What does KD mean?
Daily.
Uh-huh.
Me.
That's you?
That's me.
KD. So we're gonna
All
call
you
it,
hear is, I wonder who the hell you
Right,
are.
knocked down.
so we're gonna just start calling, hey, kids, KD coming tonight?
Kiln dry.
Hey, wonder where KD is tonight. I'll see you on the ski slope. Hey, KD.
New nickname. Sorry, Ken.
Alright, so 10 is not applicable. 11. Not applicable. 12. Not applicable. 13. Not applicable. Not applicable. 14. 15. Purpose.
You seem to say not applicable pretty quickly.
Speed reader.
Well, let's go back up to 14. Isn't silica dust a good reason to?
It is if you can prove it.
Well, but
But
if you
they're not,
watch any
if they're not gonna be able, if the permit's gonna be denied, they're not gonna be setting up dust into the air with their operation.
Did they give us a plan to control dust?
Yeah, I read this a
Oh,
little.
the SWIP.
That was a SWIP.
No, but
That's in
when
the
you're
SWIP.
when you're dropping off a conveyor belt onto a pile, it's a
But then-
dropping it through the wind. You can see the wind carrying
I
it
don't
around.
disagree, however, what I am saying is if we are denying the permit, they will not be dropping off a conveyor belt.
They're not allowed to do anything but remediate.
But by denying the permit, you're protecting people from dust or noise.
Well, you
or
can
wind.
make that rationalization later, but we're going through this as part of these special conditions to see if they can either
Okay,
apply
I guess
to
I'm a
the.
little out of it here. I'm just gonna
Well,
let
either
you
apply-
rip, and when we get the document, we'll make it say what we wanted to say.
Yeah, pretty much, but right now, you know, this is not something that, if it's denied, you can't say that the dust and the sand has to be controlled. And there's conditions of control.
All right.
And they did give us a plan for controlling the dust. Whether you like it or not, they do.
But it's irrelevant if it's not gonna be mined. Permanent property line monuments, nope. 16.
Come on.
Well, 15, they never did that though in the original permit, did they?
No.
Alright, so let's put that down as not compliant.
It's 50 trucks a day, we need to put something in there,
Where I,
16,
16, the site is limited to a maximum.
50 trucks in and, 20, we need to address that in the reason for denial. Some way.
So make a notation, we'll put it at the end. I mean, it's gotta be rephrased completely.
Yeah, but it's got, just be addressed.
Did I go past it?
What?
Oh, here it
Oh, cut and paste to the end, you're gonna cut and paste in the end.
It's only 18 pages. We're getting there.
We're in 17. So at 17, is there anything, that's just a bond calculation, that's the move.
Wait, let him finish his.
Oh.
Okay, the application, so, the bond calculation, they never submitted that, right?
No, he never did.
Well, wait a minute, that's part of the special conditions we didn't give them yet,
Right.
so we can't hold them accountable for something we didn't tell them to do yet.
Yeah, we could. It's getting tired, I'm getting tired.
Aquifer Protection District must be added to the plans and certified as the location by a mass licensed professional surveyor.
That's definitely gotta be in there.
I think we have to rephrase it. You know, they're not gonna do it.
I'll give you the terminology.
Yeah, there's new terminology, but that's not what we want for denial,
No, I know, I give you the reason
Okay.
for denial.
right? Failure to obtain and comply with other permits is needed by law. Well, that doesn't apply.
Oh, is that where that, they didn't apply for that?
Or if that's in the 2012.
Oh, maybe, if it's in there, we can use it.
Let's see.
I don't see it in there, Bill.
So, NA, 21 NA. Okay, so, my suggestion is now we adjourn for the evening and go revise that for tomorrow night. And then any further reasons that we have on our own, we add tomorrow night.
I will try and email this out before noon.
On the here, that I have one in here about the, niche application. They never applied for the,
Mine Safety Administration.
no, the
National
National
Heritage.
Heritage. They-
Oh,
the-
NHESP.
Yeah,
Oh, MISA.
yeah,
Okay.
they never applied for that,
Right.
and that would significantly make an impact on this.
So we'll add that
Topic.
tomorrow night.
Yeah.
I don't think it's productive to continue with everybody.
No, that was
being-
the last one in here that I have.
Anybody have any objections to that?
Make a motion, we adjourn to tomorrow night and pick up the thread.
I'll second that.
I'll third that.
All right, 6 PM is when we're posted for tomorrow night.
We need to vote on that. All in favor?
Oh, do you think I wouldn't call for that?
Oh, okay, I didn't know where you were going with this other
No,
discussion.
no, I just, making sure everybody knows
All
we're
right.
coming back before you run out the door.
And the
All right.
time is?